good now. We should be good now. I think notifications are coming now. We got people in the room. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Mike D and Coop here, right back at you. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. We got a whole lot of stuff to cover today, man. It was a really dope interview you did with Chris the Glove Taylor. Very informative stuff. Really engaging. I think he's an incredible subject, and it's always great to learn hip hop stuff that you didn't know. You know what I mean? And I
Absolutely.
think Hip Hop 50, that really needs to be the theme and the narrative, because it's a lot of hip hop documentaries and a lot of stuff that's going on out there where, dare I say it, you're going to get a lot of great stuff, but you're also going to get a lot of attempts to rewrite history. So I think it's great to, talk to people who were in the room, who were highly involved, and they could tell their side of the story, because we always hear from the same voices. You know what I mean?
Well, I like when it's coming from somebody that's not afraid to like also tell people like, "Hey, I was in the room and you weren't." Because like sometimes you have to do that.
I mean, because it's like people like Chris, who's a legend himself. It's like, I have no reason to lie. Like, there's a lot of people out there who have amassed such levels of fame and connections, and they're tied to everything and everybody. They might not give you the full truth because they have so much to lose. And so what I'm learning, even from just kind of our digs, it's best to talk to people who, everyone might not know as much as some other folks, because you're going to get a lot more of the raw truth. Shout out to Bro Gabe with the super chat. Appreciate y'all with the super chats. Love it. What were you going to say, Coop? My bad.
So there were a couple things in there that I thought were very striking about the interview. Can I tell you right quick what I thought they were?
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, him being the dude, the DJ in the Shaka Khan video, that's a very, very big deal.
Yeah, and I never knew that. I always talk about that song being like one of the first real big super collaborations where you got Shaka Khan, Prince, Stevie Wonder, and Melly Mel. Like, that's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's a Prince song from his, I believe, first or second album, maybe second album.
Yeah.
Might be his first. And I think he had written that song as a teenager. And, him and Shaka obviously become close.
Right.
And, and so he's part of, like, not just big hip hop moments, Mike. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a big music moment. I Feel For You by Shaka Khan's a big music moment.
Period. Yeah.
Like music, and just for music, period. And the other part was, and we're going to be talking about them some today too, the Billboard slot thing.
Yeah.
Remember when he was saying how like the Billboard was really basing it on the DJs in the city and the top DJs, and I was one of the top 2 DJs in LA, so I was really helping decide what Billboard was pumping out. And to piggyback off of that thought, when he was saying, listen to what he said, me and Dre don't listen to radio.
They were the radio.
We put out the stuff that is on the radio. Why would we listen to it? You get the frame of mind, though.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to give you your props, too, man. You did a great job on the interview. And for the people who haven't seen the interview, make sure you go to our YouTube channel and check it out. We also I put it on the streaming platforms and everything, too. So, yeah, Coop's talking to Chris the Glove Taylor, part 1. I mean, because we left off at around Doggy Style, right?
I mean, hadn't even really gotten into Doggy Style yet. So really, literally where I kind of paused the conversation when I was asking about Doggy Style, and he's saying like, well, we're on tour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, we got more stories.
And a lot of that stuff really confirms some things that we've heard, like the fact that Daz made the beats for Doggy Style. And he said that, when they were on tour, they were crafting a lot of Doggy Style and, supposed to be crafting a lot of Doggy Style, and the label got them, I forgot what equipment he said, but pretty much a little studio, right? And he said Daz was the only person utilizing that studio, and that kind of coincides with the whole notion that Daz must have been in that tour studio making Doggy Style. And when and he said that What's My Name got leaked to radio and they were forced to work on Doggy Style, it sounds like Daz and Snoop already had stuff they were working on, and when they were forced to work on it, Dre comes in there and polishes it up.
Well,
That's what it sounds like, based on his story and based on things that we've heard over time. You know what I mean?
we can find out from him next Monday.
Yeah.
But also to that point, I think he was calling it a DSL-22. I think it was something like that.
Okay.
That he was saying that Daz, like, he was like, by the time we got off the tour bus, Daz was like a master at that. I think, the way that it sounded to me is that Daz provided like a lot of the drums and the kicks and the snares, like the framework. And, I think Dr. Dre and the team just came in and probably just filled all the gaps. So I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But we're going to ask Glove and find out. It was I had a great time. It was really, really fascinating. I told you, remember when I told you how many questions I had? You got how many questions? I was like, yeah. I'm like, this dude's done some of everything.
Yeah. And yeah, it definitely had to be a two-parter. So look forward to hearing the second half too. And just I guess his perspective on everything from where you guys cut off at, to moving forward. These are not only history lessons, but for people who are really into the art and the culture, and even if it's production or just creating, just hearing the mind and the thought process of a creator that had to basically evolve over time. Because evolving from 83 to 88 to 98 to 99, those are huge things to do.
No, you're absolutely right. I think his I want to get really into the DJ part of it with him too, because when we talked about the DJ stuff, I could hear his passion and I could hear his knowledge. And I think part of what has made him such a great producer in his own right, in accompaniment with Dre, amongst others who have been in that camp, is that, well, he's got a great ear for music as a DJ.
What I like also, kind of piggybacking off of that, I like what he had to say about things being a team effort, and it's not one person who does all of this stuff. And I think that somewhere down the line, I don't know, man, it's that, I say this respectfully, it's that Michael Jordan type of mentality in the media where we seem to give one person credit for everything when, hip-hop honestly is a team sport. It takes a lot of different, elements and a few different minds to come together to make stuff that's that grandiose. Every now and then you have one person that'll get with one person and they make magic. But that, those are rare, situations, I'd say.
Well, that it's kind of funny that you say that. That's not just a hip hop thing, Mike. That's a music thing.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been learning from the Mirror Music podcast with my homie Andrew is that like a lot of the great like popular culture albums, like there are other greats on those albums from other bands that have played instruments oftentimes too.
Exactly.
Like David Crosby, who just passed, is actually the executive producer of Joni Mitchell's best album. It's like I literally just found that out last week.
Well, I found out, Denise Williams' Free song. I didn't realize that Maurice White and one of the producers from Earth, Wind and Fire, they produced that record. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean? With all the instrumentation there. And then when you think about the individual credit that we do give to, let's just say, hip-hop producers, a lot of them are taken from records that had huge collectives it took a lot of collectives to make those original records that they took the sample to make a great hip-hop record. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's still a team effort. Especially when you talk about, let's just say, Pete Rock sampling for Trouble T. Roy. Think about the collective it took to make that original record. That's a team still.
Right. And think about the thought process that Glove is kind of unfurling when he's talking about, like, hey, man, like, fuck that. We going to call the Isley brothers and just throw them niggas 5, 10, 15 G's. They going to take 5, 10, 15 G's and come play right quick.
Why not? And then what he was talking about where you have additional people in the studio and you're basically gauging the vibe of what's going on based on what your audience is right there. That's teamwork too. When you know you got certain people that you're trying to move in the studio, And when you know that you got something based on what people in the studio are doing, that's teamwork too. Nobody lives in a bubble.
I mean, nobody. I mean, I've often said this.
Nobody great.
Hold on, listen. Michael Jackson is your favorite artist. Well, his shit hasn't been the same without Quincy Jones, now has it?
No.
Now, Prince is my favorite artist. His best shit is with who?
The Revolution.
It says Prince and the Revolution on like literally like I'd say about 70% of his classics, what you would call classic Prince stuff. Well, 70% of it says Prince and the Revolution, doesn't it?
Yeah. And you can really tell the difference.
Him, but it's still 70.
You could tell the difference when Wendy and what's her
Wendy
name?
and Lisa.
Yeah, when Lisa and Wendy came
epic,
along,
man.
Things got different.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
like
1999,
Little Red Corvette, like Computer Blue, when Duff's like all that stuff doesn't happen without like the band, like the Revolution.
Yeah, I mean you could tell the difference, and obviously he's a genius too, and could do things on his own. But like he said, when you have that extra ear in there that adds their input, their creative input to something that's already creative, things get bumped up a level. It just does.
Well, Mike, even when he left the Revolution, he's always started other bands.
Yeah.
Like Sign of the Times is probably his favorite band collection, I would probably think, because he handpicked the band after the Revolution. So that's why, like, Sheila E., Sheena Easton, like, he's handpicking the people, you know what I'm saying?
Right. To
replace the Revolution. But there was nothing like the Revolution outside of the Sign of the Times work, wouldn't you say? Because as much as I love Diamonds and Pearls, that's not 1999 or Controversy or...
I mean, they sound different. It's a whole different vibe because it's different ears in there. You know what I mean? And Dr. Dre understands that. He understands that team component when it comes to making music as a collective. I think where people get things confused, and I think Puffy understands that too, is that somehow when it comes to these rankings and best producers of all time, it's like all the extra help kind of doesn't get considered, or it does get considered for some people, and it minimizes that individual against somebody like a Jay Dilla, let's say, who might have had a little less help.
Well, part of the reason, first of all, I think this may end up turning into a 3-part thing with Glove if he's down. But one of the things that I want to ask him is I want to forge, and I'm fair and I'm honest, and I like that he's straightforward too. I want to ask him, like, well, seeing how somebody like you has been by Dre's side for so long and helped him with so many of these things that he gets credited for, like in Explosive, is it fair to call him the greatest producer of all time? Because who more to be able to accurately like assess that than the person that was sitting next to him?
I wanted to have 2 conversations on this show today, and I think these are conversations we have all the time in hip hop, or people just randomly say, but we never really delve into it. I want to talk about what's the difference between a rapper and an MC, because somehow people get things confused, and that seems to be 2 different things to people. And I also want to, I guess, and maybe we've talked about this slightly before, but I want to get deeper into it since we spoke to somebody like Chris the Glove. Like, what exactly what's the criteria for a producer in hip hop? Do we give more points to the person that is working alone? Do we give less points to a person that has a collective? Do we give more points to a person that doesn't sample? You know what I mean? Like, what are we looking for in that criteria, and what constitutes hip-hop's greatest producer? I don't think we've ever really fleshed that out.
Well, I mean, I think a guy who's like, done tracks like Phone Tap and Explosive can maybe unpack that for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bro Gabe with the super chat says, peace, love the show. Is it a missed opportunity with Nas not having more videos for KD3? Legit, Get Light, Reminisce. He's on his own, but still, I think that they're gonna shoot something for Reminisce. I saw that Hit Boy posted something with him and Nas, and it was like Reminisce there. I don't know. I don't think music videos really move the needle anymore, so I don't know if it's a quote unquote missed opportunity per se.
That's what I was about to say. Even though I think we would like to see the video, I think we have to create the demand to want to see the video. I think, much like you, I saw the Reminisce clip, I believe. So I believe we are going to get a video for that.
Yeah.
But it's like, if we want a video for Get Light, we need to go make it happen, actually. You know?
Well, the thing is,
the videos don't, because you're right when you say the videos don't move the needle anymore, Mike.
Music videos were created to coincide with radio play. And if radio play is not happening on this record for whatever reason, like I said, I tried to holler at Ebro about Get Light specifically. If New York radio is not playing Nas's Get Light, what's he gonna shoot a video for? You know what I'm saying? Like, just like, why? Kendall Outlaw with the super chat says, Jay-Z seems to hang his hat on not writing his bars, but sometimes he gives us subpar lyrics. By the way, Coop, I think Prince's Emancipation album in 1996 is amazing. I like that album too.
I enjoyed Emancipation, but I said classic stuff.
Yeah.
Not good stuff, not great stuff, but classic stuff. He's got some of everything. Like, damn near all of his stuff is good, but the stuff that's like epic, no, about 70% Wendy and Lisa and Doctor, and yeah.
JB was here with the super chat, says Too Short got 2 to 3 classics but gets no love. We got to talk about Short too. I do want to talk about that Jay-Z comment, right? Jay-Z's one of those guys that can legit write rhymes in his head. And I think what he did by him and Big too. But I think what he did by advertising that is it lowered the standard for certain bars for other artists, where it was all about bragging about the fact that you could do that off the head or writing in your head thing and not really paying attention to the bars. I don't think that Jay-Z's bars have suffered from that per se. I think that over time, though, you could say that, I think collectively, no, they didn't suffer from him not writing things down. I think that's his process. I mean, when you listen to songs like Girls, 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 and, you know, and even some of his more lyrically intricate stuff, it's impressive that he processes in that way. The stuff that you might say is lackluster, I think that would have happened anyway, whether he wrote it down or came off. You know what I mean?
I think his thing is inspiration, definitely, Mike. Not pen to paper, or whether, like, even I'm with you. Like, if it was even pen to paper, that doesn't change the fact that if he's not inspired and it's not flowing through him properly, it's not going to work.
Yeah,
I think he's very much a motivational type of guy.
And we're going to talk about this a little later in the show, probably. There are rumblings out there that he's going to be performing at the Grammys in a couple of weeks. I'm thinking that's more so God did. I don't know if I see him on a televised show performing a 3-minute verse, but who knows? Even with that being said, though, that puts it out there that new music could be on the way. But I do think that if he were to say, you know what, I actually sat down and wrote this album, I think that's something that could get people interested and excited. What do you think?
I think it would be exciting if the record's good.
I agree with you, but I'm just saying, before we get the record, something that would excite people, like, because at this point, I feel like, what's the angle of the next Jay-Z album? Like, what is he going to tell us, and what is he going to talk to us about that we haven't heard before? Is he really living a current, exciting life? I mean, obviously, you know, he's a billionaire making all these moves, but we've heard him talk about making business moves before. So I think that the one thing that he could do that would be compelling, you know, for this chapter is to say, you know what, I actually sat down, took my time, and wrote this album. I usually don't write albums.
You know, okay, so here's the thing when you're not a concept type of writer, whether it be in your head or on pen to paper, when you're not a conceptual writer, coming up with an album when, not to say your best days are behind you, but let's say the most exciting times of your life are behind you. This is why Nas sounds so great so late. Well, he's always been a great nostalgic rapper, and he's always been a great conceptual rapper.
Yeah.
And so understand that King's Disease, the series, is a concept. based on a theme. And from there, it's just about the music and the placement of it. You get what I'm saying? And so it's like, well, Jay doesn't really make albums necessarily that do that. There's Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Yeah.
And Volume 3. And The Dynasty, Rock La Familia.
He makes albums like kind of like a hustler, right? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to make sure I get you product. It's not concepts. When you look at Nas, when you look at Kanye, like, those are conceptual efforts.
KRS-One.
Even with Common, you know, who's about to celebrate Electric Circus. And we're going to talk about that, too. Let me get to these super chats, too. Andrew agreeing with the super chat.
Why would we do that?
I like Electric Circus. I do. I think it's worthy of being celebrated. I thought it was interesting that Pharrell and Chad didn't get a mention. I don't know if it was just, you know, forgetting off the head or whatever, but when he was shouting out the people that helped with the project, I'm like, no love for Pharrell and Chad? Like,
it's very bougie.
It's crazy. Andrew Green in the super chat says, dope Patreon versus, fellas. My 2 favorite producers of all time. In my opinion, RZA versus Primo is a top 4 versus matchup in terms of quality and quantity. Nas versus Jay, Big versus Pac, and Meth versus Snoop would be the other one, in my opinion. Yeah, that was fun. I mean, the records are massive. It looked like RZA kind of walked away with it when we went back, but that was tough, man. But it was fun to do. Great songs. Mad Max says, an MC is a talker, like Glove alluded to, or an orator, controlling the listener's audience, crowned with their voice and words. Rappers rhyme words. They're not the same thing. I can't wait to get into this conversation. Jay Short says, great interview, fellas. When Chris said that he mixed and engineered, that was big for me, because that's what Dre's rep is. Help too. Not good in my eyes. Saying he gets help on the mixing end. Andrew Green says, forgot to mention how dope of a job Coop did with the Glove interview. Looking forward to others. Looking forward to others too, man. Great stuff. Andrew Green also says, did y'all ever discuss the new J. Cole song where he raps over a YouTuber's beat? It was dope. It was a dope look, in my opinion. Cole is an artist of the people, for real. You know what? We were going to talk about that the other week. What did you think about that record, Coop?
We ran out of time. We talked about it behind the scenes. I was actually about to say, this is people's champion type ethos from Cole.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of those things that's like, and this is why people love him.
And this is why people compared him to Nas. Like, I remember when they first was making those comparisons and he was on the cover with Nas and stuff. I'm like, nah, I don't see the comparison. I get it now. You know what I mean? I didn't get it then. I get it now. Nas is the people's champ, and so is Cole.
Right, but also, like, deeper than that, well, think about it. He actually dug and found this and looked this up. He's an actual head, Mike.
Yeah, he's watching the show right now. I mean, you know, head. Yeah, he knows what's going on out here. That goes a long way. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, no disrespect to Chris, but you need to hear from more than just one perspective in the room as well before tearing down Dre. Grain of salt is a grain of salt on everything. Well, see,
nobody was tearing Dre down.
No, nobody was tearing Dre down. And of course, we're gonna get more perspectives, but I do think that, and I think 36 Chambers would probably agree with this as well. We only seem to talk to the big names in hip hop media, so it seems like we just get one-sided stories where it's like everybody else in the room doesn't get that same level of expression and showing their experience, you know. And believe me, there's more of that to be done in the culture. There's a lot of missing links out there when it comes to, you know, our collective, you know, documenting, if you will.
No, this is why a 3-part conversation with Glove is going to be in order, because what I'm saying, like, and listen to what I'm saying. Well, how much help did True Master and Fourth Disciple give RZA during that run.
I would love to talk to them about that.
Hold on now, and let's reach out to them. But here's the thing about it. Listen to what I'm saying though. Have you heard any stories since then?
No, I haven't.
When it comes to somebody like a DJ Premier or a Pete Rock or even a Jay Dilla post like, Time with Q-Tip, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when I'm asking the question of whether it is fair to place him number one all time, that's not blasphemous. That's just saying, well, if there are other guys that have done comparable work and it's been kind of more of a solo mission than a group effort, how do we qualify that? And who better to qualify it than an actual DJ, producer, a multi-platinum producer, DJ, beat maker, who's made some of the best hip-hop stuff we've ever heard. Like, who else to explain it to us? I'm not saying I'm the expert on that. I'm just the one forging a question like that, because when I look at now like a Pete Rock, per se, even though, personal grievances with other people aside, it's like when it comes to making beats, I've never really heard about anybody really helping him with any of his process. And it's like, well, then you think about it, it's like, well, would his stuff sound as clean his Dre stuff did around that same time? Had he had more of a team around him? I don't know.
That's fair.
And also to understand that, while the glove is saying that he mixes and he engineers, it's like, it sounds, especially in reference to his relationship with Dre, it sounds like, well, he taught Dre a lot, but Dre taught him a lot too. Well, that's one of the beautiful things about making music and coming together. So it's like, I love that. It's like iron is supposed to sharpen iron, like I was telling him in the interview. And so if you're dealing with somebody that is, has a certain set of skills and you don't have them, that y'all are working together, it's like you do start acquiring those skills if you're good at what you do. And I think what happened is they just acquired a lot of each other's skills. We laud MCs for doing that, a la Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah, and again, I love the group dynamic, whether that's in a rap group or a production group, a collective, like people adding their individual 2 cents to make something huge. Now, follow me for a minute. I feel like, and not saying this happened or anything, but let's just say it's Death Row Interscope 1993. And let's just say Daz does produce the songs on, Doggy Style or whatever. Would it be more advantageous for the label to, throw Dre's name on there, not saying that he didn't do any work, but it's more marketable, especially when it's considering Snoop and everything they did on the Chronic together, to say Doggy Style, produced by Dr. Dre, as opposed to Doggy Style, produced by Daz and Dre. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of the production credit, possibly, just good marketing and making sure that certain names are aligned with one another, because that helps to sell the record too. Like, I know back in the day, man, we used to look on the back and see who made what. That was important.
Well, I'm glad that you said that, Mike, because, and I'm pretty certain Glove will confirm this, well, that's like 85 to 95% of it, probably. Truthfully, it's at least 85% of it, and probably closer to 95. And if Glove came on here and told us, no, that's 100% what it is, I would believe him, because I'll tell you what, I like to do my research on somebody, obviously, before I talk to them. He spoke about, and we'll talk about this. I don't want to say too much about it because I'm going to ask him about it, and it'll happen during the next interview session. Well, when Mailman comes along and starts getting credits for stuff, well, there was a behind the scenes about how Dre's name getting attached to that and why, and you're kind of speaking to it. And so nobody knows who Daz is in 1993, 94.
Yeah.
He's the dude that had a verse on These Nuts.
So if I'm Daz in 93, 94, and, Jimmy Iovine or whoever comes to me and says, listen, we want to use this track, but if you put your name on it and you're not established yet, it's only going to go so far. But if Dre puts his name on it, we give you this, whatever, this song is going to, go on forever. You know what I mean? And so that up-and-coming producer is going to take that. And shout out to Kanye West when he said on the College Dropout, he was like, he had nothing against Ghost producing. He said if it wasn't for Ghost
No,
production, I wouldn't even be in the game. You know what I mean?
no. Let me forge a question back to you right quick, and then we can kind of slide to the next topic. Okay, so Mike has a producer, and this is what I mean. I want to talk the glove. When you have all these components that come with like actually like making a record and putting it together, what responsibility do you dole out in terms of percentages? And is giving somebody credit in the linear notes the same thing as giving them the financial credit? You get what I'm saying? Because the biggest thing for me, if I were somebody like Daz around that time, wouldn't even necessarily be the notoriety. Like, and this is what I was telling Glove. It's like, oh, well, you know, like Michael Jackson said he was when he's making Thriller and when he's making Off Wall. Oh, no, I knew what I was doing. You know what I mean? I know what's going on. I know what I'm hearing.
It was
so
intentional,
it's like,
yeah.
So I know Daz heard what he was hearing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, that's some of the best shit niggas ever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so Dr. Dre's name being on the credits, when we take Doggy Style out and it says executive produced by Dr. Dre, does that financially inhibit Daz? Because if that does, then that would be my problem with it. The rest of it, I understand.
Well, one could say that it wouldn't be as financially viable if it was his name on it instead of Dre's name on it. That would be the argument. I'm just telling you that's how the label's going to come at it.
No.
And that's the risk that an artist takes. It's kind of like that whole Scottie Pippen contract, right? Are you going to bet on yourself, or are you just going to go ahead and take the guaranteed or whatever and then hope that down the line it's going to pay out for you in some other way? You know what I mean? And it did because of the All Eyes on Me stuff, really.
Right, I was about to say, and his get back, for Doggy Style was All Eyes on Me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
so
saying?
It worked
because
out.
by then, Daz is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And you can put Daz's name on it, and it's enough.
Exactly. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, "Who won the RZA versus Premier?" I didn't see the tally. I don't know the actual score, but I think RZA won that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain you won with RZA.
Marquez Davis with the super chat says, DJ Clark Kent once said, "Big is the best rapper, while Jay is the best MC." Thoughts? I'm not sure I agree. We're going to get into that rapper MC thing. I know you wanted to get to the next topic, but this is what I was going to ask you. From a criteria standpoint, based on all the things that we just said and all the things that we know, what makes, if we're doing the top, let's just say 10 hip-hop producers of all time, what are the criteria for that? And are we taking away points for help? Or are we adding points for the fact that, it's not easy to manage people. So maybe the help is a task in itself as opposed to, being able to make stuff on your own without having to collaborate.
I love that we're starting off the year talking to somebody that's been as immersed in hip hop and in black music as long as the Glove has, because I think, and this is even the thing with our MCs list, Mike, I think this is the year where we really need to start really actually formally figuring out all that conjecture that's been conjecture for so long.
Yeah.
Think about this, Justice League. Who essentially, that's Maybach music, essentially. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We call Ross the best beat picker, don't we?
We do.
Why aren't they ever in any of the greatest producer of all time conversations?
It's a good question.
And he's the best beat picker, and most of the beats come from them, don't they?
But I think it's that collective thing. I think that Organized Noise gets that kind of treatment too when it comes to collectives. I think that we take away points when collectives are advertised as collectives, like even with the Neptunes. But when it's put out there as Pharrell, then it's different. Then you could say Pharrell versus Timbaland or whatever. But no, it's the Neptunes. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is.
And so this is what it sounds like to me. And I'll just tell you the truth. It just appears to me that it appears Dr. Dre is very Prince-like in the sense that it's he had his core time with his core band and made most of the classic stuff with them, and the Glove would be the Wendy and Lisa of that core time. The Chronic, Doggy Style 2001 stuff, that's Prince and the Revolution. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, like the glove, you know, not to compare him to a woman, but you get what I'm saying. Like musically, stylistic, his role would be Wendy and Lisa in that time frame. But what you find with Dre, much like with Prince, is that no, there are other bands. The only difference with Dre is not officially naming the band.
And you know what? That's one thing I will say. We need
to address that because other people like Organized Noise and Beats by the Pound and Justice League and other production teams like Bad Boys Hitmen. Like if we just want to, because if teams are included like Bad Boys Hitmen, like you had Stevie J, Nasheem Myrick,
Mad Rapper, yeah, D-Dot, yep. I mean, they had a
whole team, Mike. Like, what do you want today, Big? You want a street joint today? You want a party record, Big? We got 4 great ass niggas run up and making what?
Was Carlos Brody in there technically, or was he?
That's what I mean. There might have been some floaters around there. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sure if Carlos was ever in there. I feel like he did stuff around that time in there.
I'm gonna have to Google everybody.
I feel like we're missing somebody.
I feel like we're missing people too. Hold on, Leroy Green with the super chat says, "Coop, Jay last solo album 444 was a concept album. You just didn't get it. But only 1 out of 4 albums with Hit Boy were conceptual." And the only portion of KD3. I don't know if it was we didn't get it, but, you know, it just wasn't. Listen, I think we all can agree, whether, you know, everybody's taste is what it is. 444 was not captivating. Is that fair to say?
So, I mean, officially how it's looking is Chucky Thompson.
Chucky Thompson's who I'm forgetting. Yeah.
Derek D. Dot.
Rest in peace to Chucky.
And Derek D. Dot and Easy Mo B formed the Hitmen.
I didn't realize the Easy Mo B form was a part of the formation. Wow.
All right.
I would like to talk to him too.
Now, then after that, it appears that after that, then Nasheem Myrick came on.
Okay.
Nasheem's my favorite one of the bunch, personally for me. I believe he's the one who actually did the beat to Who Shot You. And I think he did Top of New York. For Conan Noriega.
Oh,
and if I'm not mistaken, he did the original beat to Project Windows for Nas. Correct. Before Trackmasters.
Yeah.
Trackmastered it.
Trackmastered it. That's a good way to put it.
Very problematic.
Easy Mo B's my guy in that collective, I'll say.
After that is Stevie J.
Mm-hmm.
Then Harv Pierre.
Yeah, I forgot about Harv. My bad.
Harv is the guy we're forgetting. And then the later part is Rashad Smith and Mario One.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Melvin Wright with the super chat says, I have a question. What exactly does Mike Dean contribute to Kanye's production? Being that he's one of the original producers of the Ghetto Boys. It's a good question.
Hey, you want to know what? The Glove in one of his interviews actually was talking about Mike Dean. He knows Mike Dean, and he said the same thing. He goes back like to Ghetto Boy stuff, like down in Houston.
That makes sense, yeah, because they always kind of running with each other. I would imagine that, you know, I don't know this, but I would imagine that his position is very similar to when people bring Rick Rubin into the fold to kind of oversee, to make sure, you know, am I on the right track? Am I going too far? Kind of that extra head in the room. And I think that Mike Dean might be a little bit more hands-on than that. But the thing is, especially like he's involved in Astro World, right? So it's hard for me to even pinpoint a sound from him. It just sounds like whenever he's involved, the initial sound is amped up and perfected. You know what I mean?
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Mike Dean put Trav on, and Trav was Mike Dean's artist first.
Was he? I just remember when Trav was signed to Grand Hustle and stuff. But you're probably right. I mean, these people cut especially
how Trav get out of Texas like that. You feel me?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, he was signed to 300. A lot of people in that era. I'm talking about when Trav came out, when Young Thug came out initially. These guys had like 4 or 5 deals coming in the game. You know, Rich Homie Quan, Rich the Kid, like these guys had like 4 deals coming in the game. Jay Short with the super chat says, if Dr. Dre was that prolific, why did he only have 2 beats on All Eyes on Me? Wouldn't he have had more stuff on the in the chamber for Tupac? or the Interscope figure that Daz was doing most of it anyway. I think a lot of that's probably Tupac. I think that Tupac was comfortable working with people who were actively working with him. And Dre was more of a I think that their work processes probably clashed, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, you have a guy that might walk in, you know what I'm saying? Like, how about this? By the time Dre is walking in, Pac done recorded 2-3 songs and left.
Yeah. And Dre stuck on one song, Pac on song 20.
Pac like, yo, nigga, Dre still working on that?
Yeah.
Like, and this is what I'm saying. Well, we haven't gotten that far yet. We're at Doggy style. Like, let's wait and ask Glove. He was right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he can tell us how that happened, actually. Those are some of the questions that I have. I have Doggy style questions. I have All Eyes on Me questions. Dog food, all that.
So, okay. Again, when we rate producers, are we holding it against them that they work with the collective or not?
I mean, I don't even feel comfortable qualifying that while I'm interviewing a producer of this caliber right now. That's what I'm saying.
Because the way I look at it, and not to interrupt you, I think of somebody like Timbaland, right? And I say Timbaland because he's such an amazing talent. He can come in a studio, and we've seen it on videos, and start doing shit on a beat machine or keyboard that nobody else can do. You know what I mean? And he brings in people every now and then. But he could do that shit on his own, send it out, and then come with like a 1 in a million or some shit you never heard. And you got to get points for that. You know what I'm saying? And
no, right. So we will give points for that. You know what I'm saying? But is it a detraction when you're like, this is what I mean. Well, when Quincy Jones was Frank Sinatra's band leader, he wasn't playing every instrument. I mean, he probably could. You get what I'm saying? But he didn't play every instrument, but he still led the band and was considered to be the best, maestro.
Well, hip-hop production entails different things.
Right.
I think that...
don't you think Juicy J helped DJ Paul make a lot of his stuff?
Yeah. And vice versa,
And vice versa.
Yeah. And again, I think that them being a collective, I know we usually don't, and I think this is probably where we get confused or get out of line with it. We normally don't put groups on a list like best MCs ever, right? Like, we separate groups from solo acts. And I think when it comes to producers, we may not need to really do that, but we subconsciously do it anyway. Again, back to the whole Pharrell thing. Like, we never say the Neptunes. I think we should stop that.
Think about this.
Yeah, collectives should be rated with everybody else because, like you said, Dr. Dre is a collective. It's almost like he's the name of the band.
Yeah, like Sade.
Yeah.
Like Sade is the name of the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like on some Prince shit. It's like at least Dr. Dre is not coming out saying I am David Ruffin.
Dr. Dre is Rufus, man. It's like, it's the name of the band. Like, you know what I mean? And it makes it no different than, like you said, Organized Noise or Justice League. And because technically, from what my understanding of Organized Noise, Ray was doing most of the beat work. You know what I'm saying? But everybody else had their additive collective to it.
Right. So even in the case of a, this is what I mean. If Biggie was considered to be the best beat picker of his era and Ross is the best beat picker of this era, why aren't the producers that they worked with on these lists and higher? You feel me?
Right.
As in, like even if you don't want to put the hitmen all the way together, where it's like, well, why ain't D-Dot higher? Why ain't Stevie higher? Why ain't Nasheem higher? Why ain't Harv higher? Why ain't Justice League higher? If we're saying these things about who's picking the beats, then why aren't the beat makers put up higher?
Same thing for Bomb Squad. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bomb Squad needs that same consideration.
It's collective.
It's a collective. And I think that when you, and Puffy gets this too, when it's like, he gave the Hitmen their credit. What if he never gave the Hitmen their credit and he was like Dr. Dre and we thought that he was doing everything like he's Dr. Dre, but they pretty much are doing the same things?
Well, you see, I think and I think Glove is going to unpack this too. I think his situation with the glove is kind of what led him to start giving credit. Because if you'll notice from about, I know about the glove because I know he co-produced Phone Tap with Dr. Dre, quite frankly. That's how I found out about him and saw his name for the first time. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That was my first time getting acquainted with him. Now we're finding out he's been down since 1989. You get what I'm saying? But that is 1997 when I'm finding out who he is. And I think how business got done at Ruthless and Death Row, well, when Dre had more of a say-so, he made sure people got credit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like when he could kind of like control and just put it to the label, it's like, well, I'm Dre now. Like I can co-produce.
And I need to keep these guys around. I love having them around. So yeah, people got to get credit for their work.
Yeah, if you want to keep a good band together, you know.
Yeah.
Look, if you want to keep a good band together, you're gonna have to pay all the members.
As you should. That's the right thing to do anyway.
Right.
Kendall Outlaw with the super chat says, did you know that James Ingram helped Quincy write Michael Jackson's PYT? I think James Ingram wrote it. Rest in peace to James Ingram. And he probably wrote the demo version too, which is a wonderful version as well, but I think they picked the right one. He said Michael was in the booth recording, dancing, and everything while he was recording that. That sounds like James Ingram. But see, that's the thing though. Quincy, his gift, just like, Puffy and Dre, he had the ear where he knew that, okay, I need to get Rod Temperton for this Michael Jackson project. He's listening to, listening to Heat Wave. Like, this guy's going to be perfect for Michael. He was able to hear that, either James Ingram probably, played him a song, played him PYT, and like, you know what? This would be perfect for Michael. I mean, and that says a lot when somebody has that kind of ear to be able to put those things together. That's what a great producer is supposed to do.
So this is what I mean about the glove and Dre and how this works. Well, when you're talking to somebody like the glove and everybody's like, "Coop, great interview," and it's like, no. Great job, Dr. Dre, because Dre knew all of this first, and Dre seen it firsthand, and that's why the glove was up on According to Hip Hop on Monday, telling the story of Dr. Dre pulling up in the glove's driveway, not the other way around. You get what I'm saying, Mike? Like, that is part of it. Dre's eye and ear told him, it's like, no, like, I'm about to take my next step. I want the glove.
Dre and Puffy probably have the best ear and eye for talent that we've ever seen.
Ever.
And,
ever.
I say
think about this. So we always look at, like, the homie shit, like with Ice Cube and Easy and, like, the come up. It's like, no, then you start looking at, like, the full picture of it, like with Glove, Mailman,
DLC.
Mike Elizondo, Snoop, the DLC, M. It's like, then it starts unfurling. It's like, oh, well, part of what you may say he's the best at is the all-encompassing things that comes with producing an artist, including having the eye and the ear for who to pick, like behind the scenes and in the front. Now, he's definitely the best at that.
I want to know whose idea it was to take somebody who comes from a battle rapping scene or that you heard on the Wake Up Show or whatever origin story that Eminem has and get him in the studio. And they say the first song that they played for him was that Hi, My Name Is beat. Like, how do you know this stuff like that is going to work? You know what I mean? Like, they didn't try to do, because, I mean, to be honest, man, like, hip-hop hadn't heard anything like that before. That wasn't even like a hip-hop track, per se. And it worked, and it's brilliant, but those are things that great producers do. His whole image is crafted off of that record alone. Because, I mean, you listen to Infinite, he has nothing like that. Ever.
Because he's on some rap shit, and he's trying his best to be on some rap shit to get his credibility. And Dre is like, no, we about to, like, hit the lottery.
It's like he took his personality and made a song around it. It's almost like, that story that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis tell about when they met Janet. They spent the weekend with her, talked to her, they just kicked it, and then they went in the studio and made Control. It's like he must have really gotten to know him and kind of made that record around the personality he saw or something.
Yeah, I think he said they spent like 4 hours in the studio together, and like by the time they had like walked out the studio, it was like,
that's dope. 36 Chambers with the super chat says Leroy Green said it best. Everyone in the room makes Dre's sound, not the other way around. They can all contribute, but at the end of the day, they're still it's still all Dre, and that doesn't take away from his legacy. And I agree, because a lot of those people have done work without him, and that stuff doesn't sound like the stuff with him. Like, as great as Scott Storch is, and as great of a legacy he has, he doesn't have a track without Dre that sounds like still DRE, and that's just the truth.
These are facts.
I mean, it's just the truth, and he's the prime
he's got
example
a lot of other
because he's
shit
great
too.
Yeah, he got a lot of classic
like
shit.
No, he doesn't have one beat that's even no.
So people like that, kind of take you to the next level, and that's what a great producer is supposed to do. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, also thanks for the glove interview session and asking those questions. Coop, 2023 is already starting off strong with that type of content. Yes.
No, I'm looking forward to it. And we're going to have some great conversations this year. Like one of the things that I'm looking forward to, Mike, is like, and not being funny, is like, well, our interview sessions, it's like, well, I'm not always just going to be interviewing hip hop people. Like, we have some up and coming Black authors I've been talking to, that are doing some positive things like in the community and with their art form that I'm going to be talking to. We have some independent and local artists we're going to be talking to.
Yeah.
I think it's an excellent way to start off the year with the glove and everything. I just want to try to give some of the lesser known people and the less notarized people some of the same run. They're probably not going to get 3-part hour long series. You know what I'm saying? It's probably going to be 15 to 30 minute interview most likely, but we're going to have some great stuff this year and kind of like expand the content for them and the interview and just the dialogue sessions and support some up and coming artists and talent in a multitude of facets,
Definitely. 007 with the super chat. Shout out to 007 in the building. He says, peace, Kings, back from Cartagena, and I got stories to tell. Let your imagination run wild. Just peep this Billboard list, and it's trash. Carry on. Do you want to get to Billboard first, or do you want to get to the complex list thing first?
We can do Billboard first, but hey, 007. My best friend Obi lives in Medellin, so I don't have to let my imagination run wild. I've already been to Colombia and ran.
Well, shout out to that. Run, young man, run.
Yeah.
All right. So Billboard has put out 30 through 21. We don't have to go back through the whole list, but honestly,
no, I would actually like to go through the list because I haven't looked at it at all. So if you want to list it off, that would be great.
I mean, we've gone through it over the past couple of weeks. They was doing 50 to 40. You know what? Forget it. We'll go through it. I got it right here. Rick Ross at 50, right?
No. I mean, from the last 10. I mean, the 10 that just got submitted, Mike.
The 10 yeah. That's where I was going to go.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. So
look at that.
T.I.'s 32. Lil' Kim's 31. And we have Lauryn Hill coming in at 30. We'll get to that. Pusha T at 29. Black Thought at 28.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah. You want me to read what they said? They said, listening to Black Thought is like enrolling in a masterclass of lyricism. Somebody's been listening to you. Tariq Trotter, co-founder of the legendary Roots crew and long-running Philly band's leading MC, still amazes rap fans with his electrifying stream of consciousness, radio freestyles, and brilliant live performances. When Black Thought joined forces with supreme lyricists such as Eminem, Royce da 5'9", Big Pun, or Joey Badass and Russ, the combination elevates the craft and technique of rap to another level. Rapping since 1993, Black Thought continues to grow more polished as one of the genre's greatest MCs. You Got Me, with Erykah Badu. It's a crossover duet for the Roots platinum-selling album, Things Fall Apart. Remaining shining moments, thanks to his rich baritone and reviving storytelling. When it comes down to, the pieces that they're putting down for these artists, they know their stuff. Whoever's writing these little blurbs, for the
No,
countdown.
they're not. No, they're not. All they're doing is biting our style and paraphrasing it.
Well, they're at
That's
least
really what's
trying.
going on. It's just biting my style and paraphrasing it. What Ghost say on the Shark Biter skit? You take a little word and you flip it, and then boom.
You know,
That's all.
the real
that's
is
all,
back.
That's all that's really going on. I mean, the dissection is nice. I'm not going to quibble too much with the 28 slide. It feels slightly low. He still feels top 25 to me, even with some of the misgivings catalog-wise as a solo MC. I mean, I know. Go ahead.
He's still going too. My guy Q-Tip is at 27. That's around where we got him.
Yeah, but we can't have. But that's very problematic that you think Q-Tip is a slot ahead of Black Thought. This is what I mean about how they're not really thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? They're piecing some people together, like next to each other. It's like, oh, well, let's pick this style of MC right here in this pocket right here. It's like, don't do that.
Yeah, it's like, conscious, mainstream conscious. Q-Tip, co-founder of the alternative hip hop group, A Tribe Called Quest. What is an alternative hip hop group? I want to know. What does that mean? Alternative to what? Exactly. I don't know.
Like their drums are like
what's
like
alternative about Tribe?
Like, I don't know, Q-Tip's drums are the closest thing we have to like Clyde Stubblefield in this genre, wouldn't you say, in terms of like the influence of the drum?
I don't know.
I don't know what's going on anymore.
Do they consider Eminem alternative rap?
It's very problematic. We're not touching that right now. We're not going to have time to do that.
Anyway, Q-Tip, co-founder of the alternative hip hop group A Tribe Called Quest, has been on point for 30 years. Let's see. Alternative, yeah. Tip's laid-back, smooth-talking flow came peppered in the immortal, all this jazzy talk. Okay, I got you.
Next.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay. 26, Big Pun.
This is what I'm saying. You can't make a viable. I love Pun.
I love Pun too.
You cannot make a viable argument to put Pun ahead of somebody like Q-Tip, who is like the author, the main author of the Low End Theory and Midnight Marauders, and has made solo records. Like, no. Yeah. Like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that to Thought and Q-Tip. This is what I mean about how it's like, well, they sound like they know their stuff, but that's really just because they're jacking my shit and paraphrasing. So it sounds like you know what you're talking about, but you do not know what you are talking about.
I want to be clear, man, because Pun, I loved Pun when he was here. He, people have just done too much for him to be rated this high.
His two albums outrank like what Q-Tip's just contributions like to Tribe?
Honestly, man, it's just capital punishment because the second album was not, that.
Was it even finished? Or was it just not that good?
I don't think so. It wasn't. And like you said, and it's not his fault. I think it was a lot going on. I think that even if he would have lived to release the album, he would have looked at that as like a sophomore, Jinx type of album and came back with the third album, kind of like on some I'm back type of shit.
If he finished that album, that's not a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Because my assumption is that the album struggled because he didn't get the opportunity to finish it. But if that was if that was the true follow-up to Capital Punishment, that's very Dogfather-ish.
Yeah. I mean, really, man, and I think that, when people talk about our list, and we're not even going to talk about our list today, we'll go down a whole rabbit hole. I'm confident in the fact that those top 30 that we have, anybody outside of, let's just say 20, 25, anybody outside of that 25 radius, it would be nearly impossible for them to beat any of those people in that top 20 to 30 in a verses. Now, if Pun does the verses, how many songs is he going to be able to actually play? And who could Pun actually beat in a verses? If we talk about the music, then we know his abilities were his abilities. But who could Pun actually beat? And that's where it becomes unfair to the people who've put in that work. You know what I mean?
I think what Versus did provide us that we need to laud them for is that they provided us like kind of like a little bit of a baseline measuring stick, if that makes sense, Mike.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you ain't got 20 records to do this?
Yep. That's a buy-in.
Hold on. If you ain't got 20, well, how can you be 26?
I don't even know. I think
like,
15 would be a stretch.
Hold on. How
Features
about this?
included.
Like, look at what Rick Ross would do to Big Pun in a Versus.
Yeah.
Who's at 50, right? Ross at 50?
Yeah.
Pun at 26?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, you can't do that. Look at Ross' catalog.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
It's not.
It's not fair. It's not fair specifically to guys like Ross or like Game, who always kind of get left like right outside that top tier.
Yeah, because I don't think Game's gonna make this.
Like
list.
We know Pun is a better MC than them. Like we know this.
Yeah.
We've heard Capital Punishment. Ross and Game can't do Dream Shattering.
I don't think Game's gonna make this list, and I honestly, from what I see,
I told you he wasn't making this list.
I don't think Cam's gonna make this list either.
No.
And Cam and Pun were right there with each other. There's no way in the world that Pun could beat
You saw when they
Cam
put
in a
Jada
verse.
Kiss and Redman. What made you think Game and Cam were making the list?
Yeah.
Kiss barely made the list, Mike.
Right. And there's no way that Pun is beating Cam in a versus. It's not fair to Pun, and it's not fair to the people who have surpassed everything that, I don't say everything that he's done, but surpassed him musically because he wasn't here to, continue on. It's not fair to them to have Pun at 26.
And let's just address the kind of like small elephant in the room. It might be like Dumbo size, but Big did 2 albums too, and it's like, look how much classic shit came out of those 2 albums.
But see, that's the thing,
that's why
and like you said, I think Versus did a great thing there, because if we put Big in that Versus situation, it's no question.
Everybody's in trouble except Snoop, Mike.
Yeah. And the fact that he was able to do that with 2 albums, so it's not about the number of albums, it's about the quality of that work in that period. So we're not saying because you got 2 albums you ain't in. We're just saying, like, does Pun have 20 joints to go up against anybody who's top 30 in this genre? Like, does he?
No, look at it like
Big
this.
does.
How about this? Black Thought's at 28. In order for Pun to come up with 20, he would have to play Super Lyrical with Black Thought in that 20. You understand that?
Yeah.
That would be one of the 20 best records. You think Thought needs to play 20 joints and he got Pun any?
No. Jay Short with the super chat says, speaking of beats, a lot of the credit for Too Short has to go to Ant Banks. Yeah, definitely. He still might have the best production ever for a North Cal artist. Short knew how to make music for your car. Yeah, he did. Ant Banks don't get enough credit. That's a
I
good
agree.
find.
Ant Banks doesn't get enough credit. We should maybe reach out to him next.
I think
Keep
we
it
should.
West.
I was thinking the same thing. Andrew Green with the super chat says, the Pac movie depicted Dre starting to separate himself from Death Row around the time that All Eyes on Me is being recorded. Probably why he only had 2 beats. I don't know how those biopics go, but we'll
find out on Monday.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah, well, that's love. He seems very like open to talk about all his experiences. That like he knows who he is. Like he knows how important this is that it gets documented properly too.
Exactly. Number 25, Method Man. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think
that's fair.
Listening. Yeah. Number 24, KRS-One. Let me read this real quick. KRS. So there's 23 MCs better than KRS-One.
We're smoking rocks. You smoke rocks, Sam. You smoke rocks. If your friends tell you to jump off a building, do you do it?
This makes me think Cool G Rap's not gonna be on the list at all.
Duh. I'm worried about Kane right now, aren't you?
I am, but I'm not. But you know what? If Kane doesn't make the list, that's just a bad look for the list, like altogether.
Okay, so you think that Kane and hold on, so you think right now from where we stand, so LL's making this list, right? They're not that dumb.
Yeah, LL's making this list.
Now Kane, G-Rap, and Slick Rick are still out there. They didn't name Slick Rick already, did they?
I didn't see Slick Rick, I don't think. No.
It's very problematic what's going on in these streets.
Hold on. Is Slick Rick on this list? I want to go up and see just to make sure. Now I'm gonna start at 50 just to see who we missing. Yeah, I don't want to assume that. But I don't remember.
KRS-One is at 24.
Yeah.
And Slick Rick and Kane are not on here, who literally have one classic. Listen to what I'm saying. Who have one classic apiece. I'd like to read off some of KRS-One's credentials right quick, if I may, Mike.
Well, let me go through this just to make sure the Slick Rick ain't on here, right? 50, Rick Ross. 49, Rev Run. Melly Mel, 48. 47, MC Light. Jadakiss, 46. Ice-T, 45. Queen Latifah, 44. Bun B, 43. Redman, 42. E40, 41. Dr. Dre, 40. Ludacris, 39. Gucci Mane, 38. Common, 37. Mos Def, 36. Future, 35. Chuck D, 34. Busta Rhymes, 33. T.I., 32. No, Slick Rick's not on here. Lil' Kim, 31. Lauryn Hill, 30. I don't know if Slick Rick's going to make this list.
Now, Mike, what in the hell make you think that Slick Rick and Kane is making this list when they got KRS at 24? We already know G-Rap's off the list right now. As soon as I saw KRS-One at 24, I was like, so cool, G-Rap will not be making this list. It's the first thing I said. I said, so cool, G-Rap won't be making this list.
So what does this say about Billboard and Vibe as it pertains to... I know they tried to give the 80s props in certain ways with Melly Mel, and I saw that Curtis Blow was on this list. And Rev Run. But I'm sorry. I think that... Because again, I think there's a different Pioneers list. You can't put Rev Run and Curtis Blow on the list and not G-Rap, Slick Rick, and Kane. You can't.
It's very problematic.
I don't think there's anybody that's going to tell, and I say this respectfully, I don't think there's anybody that's going to tell you Curtis Blow's better than Kane.
Smoking wrong. Okay, so what I'd like to do is just highlight some of KRS-One's contributions to hip hop.
Okay.
Just some of these small contributions. Can I interest you in Sex and Violence by Boogie Down Productions?
I love Sex and Violence. That's a dope album. Whew.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Can I maybe introduce you to Edutainment?
Dope album too.
Where he literally produced and performed it all by himself.
He doesn't get a lot of credit for that.
Like Ghetto Music, the blueprint. Yeah, a lot of people forget he produced and performed that whole album by himself. Ghetto Music, the blueprint of hip hop.
Very impactful, I would say.
Maybe some By All Means Necessary. Mike, are you familiar with the album By All Means Necessary?
My Philosophy is a banger to this day.
Maybe Criminal Minded, Mike. Are you familiar with Criminal Minded?
Yeah.
Is there a classic song, or I don't know, 5 or 6 on there?
It's one of the greats. You've been blinded, looking for a style like mine, but can't find it.
Hold on. The people fixing the water line are at the door, Mike. I'm going to let you kind of just look at the Boogie Down stuff, which is really like damn near KRS-One solo work. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to like get to the actual stuff that's like KRS-One work.
Well, for the people out there, while you do that, Criminal Minded has South Bronx on it. 9mm Goes Bangs on it. The Bridge Is Over's on it. And the song Criminal Minded itself. Poetry's on there. These are bangers, man. P is for Free is on there. Super Ho is on there. 36 Chambers of Super Chat says, Chuck D near Future is wild. No disrespect to Future. Yeah, it is wild, man. Chuck D so different than any and everything out there. It's hard to even really rank him. You just have to rank him on a high level of respect. Because he is the foundation of people like Tupac, people like Ice Cube, people like Face to a certain degree. Like that approach, that in your face, just straight to the point rhyming, like something else, man. KRS, let me read what they actually said about KRS in this 24th spot. So Billboard says KRS evolved from being the blast master to the teacher, a testament to his own lyrical and personal development. And if you ask me, it's also a testament to the power of hip hop as a lyrical purveyor of the violence that littered the Bronx neighborhood. Hold on, let me see. Make sure I ain't missing no super chat from you guys. The Bronx neighborhood, KRS-One started his career in the late 80s on the Boogie Down production classic Criminal Minded. However, after the murder of group member DJ Scott LaRock, he shifted to sonically conscious rap aimed at empowering black people and resolving the ills that plague the inner city communities. Works like BDP's By All Means Necessary and KRS formed the Stop the Violence movement, star-studded 1989 single Self-Destruction are some of the most powerful moments in hip-hop that hip-hop has ever witnessed. Excuse me. KRS-One is also battle-tested. In 1987, The Bridge Is Over, recorded response to MC Shan's The Bridge, is one of the most respected and referenced diss records of all time. Now, they did a great job of highlighting him and his contributions and everything that he has done and stands for. And with that being said, when you look at the fact that this man evolved as an individual, personally and musically, lyrically took it everywhere from the streets to the political sector to the battle rap sector to just some freestyle b-boy shit. Like, who is really more rounded than KRS-One as an MC anyway? Like, you factor in the live performances, I think he's the best live performer ever in hip-hop, in my personal opinion.
And then there's the KRS-One album and Return of the Boom Bap on top of all of that.
Yes. His catalog is long. I personally...
The top 5 catalog. That's a top 5 catalog. You understand? I just named off a top 5 catalog. That's better than Common's catalog.
As great as Big Daddy Kane is, he was outmatched in that verses because of KRS-One's extensive catalog. I think the matchup we needed in that verses was KRS and LL. That was the matchup that we needed.
I don't even know if LL want that, Mike.
I don't think so either. And I think when it was brought up to LL, he kind of like, shrugged it off. Because I feel like those two are the MCs in the 80s that transitioned to the 90s the best. One did it from an underground standpoint. The other one did it from a mainstream standpoint. I think that would have been very interesting to see on some hip-hop shit. Personally, I may have picked KRS.
Oh, no. I would pick KRS. Look, Mike, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's 7 albums, Mike. All of those, like, there are people, like, if somebody told me each one of these albums was classic, I wouldn't argue with them.
And he's still making albums. So
the dope albums.
Yeah. Listen, you know we love Rakim. Can't wait to talk to him and interview him. He don't have 7 albums like that.
Neither does Common.
Kane
That's what I'm
doesn't.
saying. You talk about Common having maybe a top 5 catalog. If Common has maybe a top 5 catalog, well, let me show you what a top 5 catalog actually looks like.
What's LL's 7th album?
And you want to know what? The more we talk about it, Mike, you're right. We might have to, like I originally thought and like initially want to do, we might have to asterisk Big and Pac.
Yeah. Because the work that somebody like a KRS-One put in is just otherworldly. Him and G-Rap.
It's like, I know Pac and Big, and and in Pac's case, it made enough material maybe to rival it, but it's like, even when we're saying all the things that we're saying, doesn't it feel strange even KRS-One even being 6 on our list?
It does. It really does.
These albums I just named?
What I was going to ask you, man, what is LL's 7th album?
It don't look like this unless you're Nas or Jay or one of the faces. Scarface, Ghostface.
No, that's true. Jay Short with the super chat says KRS-One is top 10, but he doesn't make commercial music, and kind of did his own thing in the mid '90s in his heyday. And he He's not the most media friendly artist. But we don't care about any of that, right? It's about the music, it's about the abilities. Who could out rap KRS on the stage? Who could out freestyle him? Who could out battle him, right? Who could beat KRS in a battle? Beat him on stage? You know what I'm saying? Like, have the catalog that he has. He's a very, very fierce and tough competitor. We talk about Busta in that way, or at least people have been over the past couple of years. KRS is that with substance, lyrical dexterity,
Like
battle tested, like, and classic albums, right?
this is what I mean. Like KRS can do records that like enforce his will on you. Like imagine being in a versus with him, and you try to imagine LL being in a versus with him, and KRS-One does something like "Oh yeah" a cappella. What the fuck is LL gonna do when that happens?
Nobody entertained the notion of Busta and KRS doing a versus. That should have happened. If Busta's everything that people are saying, nobody wanted a versus with Busta. If it's like KRS that, put him up against KRS-One. If it's like
KRS
that, yeah, because I think
KRS has more classic songs than Busta.
Of course he does. You know, and I think based on what I'm seeing here, Busta's going to be in the top 20. I don't think Prodigy's making this list either. Kendall Outlaw with the super chat says, we need a Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis versus L.A. Reid and Babyface. I agree. That's the versus we needed. You know, and no disrespect to Teddy Riley, but the versus we needed was Babyface and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. That's what we needed.
Oh, absolutely.
Mad Max with the super chat says, I watched the Kane versus. Kane held it down. His freestyles were elite and stopped LL bringing out Meth and Red. In his 90s hits, KRS is getting out of here. He said, and stop. LL's bringing out Meth and Red in his 90s hits. KRS is getting out of here. You really think? I don't know, man.
You want to Patreon that, Mike?
I would love to Patreon that. I'll take LL.
You know what I'm taking?
I'll take LL. LP with the super chat says, like KRS said, the only other rapper that covers as much ground as him with the streets, education, radio, battle, and longevity of records is Nas. And that's right when it comes to the battle too, right? He's the closest to what KRS embodies as an overall hip-hop MC.
You know who KRS-One says is the greatest MC of all time, right?
Is it Nas?
Hello?
I mean, real recognize real. What is this? Jay Gipp with the super chat says their top 10 will have 3K, Drake, and Wayne. The list is sus. You know, 3,000 shouldn't be in the, you know, I don't want to get on that soapbox again until we see his name here. I've seen L.A. Reid out here telling a story about the fact that The Love Below was recorded in 3 weeks because Big Boy was supposed to do a solo album and it was all ready for Big Boy to do a solo album, and then 3,000 was asking, when are you putting the album out? And then he came through in the clutch and, you know, made Love Below in 3 weeks. I don't know, man. I wasn't there as a consumer. I don't remember it being like that, but whatever. I don't know.
You know what I remember, Mike? I can remember a Big Boy portion of an interview about this album where he was saying he was going to the studio to check up on Dre, to see how his recording process was going, and that when he heard She Lives in My Lap,
I remember this story.
He told Dre, that's your first single. She Lives in My Lap is still my favorite song on The Love Below.
It's his best song that he's ever recorded as a solo
I agree with you wholeheartedly when you say that. I still think it's the best song on The Love Below. I think it's the best song he's ever made. I agree. Now, unless you're telling me that conversation and those recordings and all of that happened in a 3-week time frame, which definitely isn't how it got framed by Big Boy at the time.
I remember reading that article.
At the time. Nor Andre at the time.
I remember reading that article, bro. Like, this was way before the album came out. And like you said, She Lives in My Lap was slated to be the first single. No one had even heard anything about Hey Y'all. When Hey Y'all came, I was like,
Hey Y'all was the last second.
Yeah. Yeah. And
that might have gotten recorded in the last 3 weeks. But
from what I understand, and I've heard this story too, there's obviously so many stories out there. There's like 10 different versions of Hey Y'all out there. This is what I'm going to say, and this is what I found conflicting in this interview. I never, ever, ever, and this is me that was in radio at that time, I never remember it ever being a push for a Big Boy solo album is coming. Never, ever. It was always, when's the next Outkast album? Outkast this, Outkast that. I mean, and if that's what it was, you guys did no promo on Big Boy as an individual solo artist, because that was never the thing.
Love Below posters running around fucking Atlanta.
Yeah, man. There was
what
never.
What are you talking about?
There was never a Big Boy solo.
I just want to know where these 3 weeks came from, because Mike, you and I were in Atlanta around each other around this time. Like, come on, like, dude, like, you know how this happened. Like, stop doing that. Stop that.
I don't want to say anybody is fabricating things, but I got questions. I just got questions because, again, if it was like that, at no point, even when you look at Even in Darkness, right, that Dungeon Family album, we knew CeeLo was recording Perfect Imperfections at that time, and he released that, right? And it was, I think that's a very understated album too. We knew CeeLo was solo. There were, you know what I'm saying, they were promoting CeeLo as a solo artist. At no point were people getting ready for a Big Boy solo project. The label, LaFace had never did any promo for Big Boy as an individual. I don't remember it. I don't remember it at all. So everything was about the next Outkast album. The next Outkast album. It was Outkast, Outkast, Outkast. And I've never heard Dre tell that story. I've never heard Big Boy tell that story. I would imagine Big Boy would have been told a story like that. What I do remember is when Dre got on Greg Street's show, because they did promo for the album separately, which was weird, right? And the other thing that LA said is they weren't working together at the time. Well, Andre worked on Big Boy's album. He did a lot of production on there. But anyway, one of the things I do remember is when Andre was on Greg Street's show, he had his mother with him. And he was talking about the fact that he wanted to make a solo album. And so it sounded like he was actually working on his solo album first. But he said, and this was what was coming out of his mouth in 2003 when the album was coming out, he said that the label told him that, you know what, you guys are stronger as a brand of Outkast than you are as individuals. So we'll package your solo albums together. That's what he said. So I don't know.
I think
20 years goes by, people forget stuff, man, I guess. And it's funny, this is the 20th anniversary of the album, so maybe they're trying to gear it up for some big promotional package or something.
Do they have any sessions of these niggas actually doing rap songs together?
No. JB was here with a super chat, says, how many MCs must get dissed before somebody says don't fuck with Chris? Right.
These are valid questions. These are very valid questions.
Jay Short with the super chat says, my point was they're not just ranking on music or content or impact. KRS never made these folks money like that. And I think that these lists are put out by labels to boost certain artists' streaming catalog. Well, that I totally agree on. And when you don't make them money, you're out of the cycle.
That I agree with.
And that's why I never believed that Chance the Rapper was an independent artist. Like, how's the Grammys going to showcase an artist that they have no stock in? That doesn't make sense. You win in Grammys and they have nothing to do with you and you have nothing to do with them. Anyway, all right. Curtis Blow is 23.
I just, it's just hard to qualify that. I just like, we're going to work on a legends list. That's the best answer I can give for that.
Yeah, definitely. And similar to,
Hey, and you want to know what too, Mike? You're right about that whole Houdini thing. A whole bunch of people have been hitting me up. They're like, Coop. Like Houdini? They're like, Coop, Houdini.
They're transcendent. Ghostface is 22. I like that.
They're paying attention to a little something.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting Ghost to be on this list at all.
Do you think Ray's going to be on the list, though? Do you think Ray's going to be on the list?
I don't know. It doesn't look good for Ray now.
So how does Ghostface get to 22 and Ray doesn't make the whole 50? That's problematic. DMX is 21. Hey, have no problem with that. You know what? The 20s were fine, I think. Outside of the whole pun thing, and I understand that.
I think the pun and the KRS thing are...
Oh, the KRS thing, obviously. Yeah, the KRS is definitely a misstep. But yeah, we'll pay attention more to, as I guess next week they're going to do the teens. But I think my prediction is here, like, we got 20 spots left, right?
Right, so here's what we know.
Mm-hmm.
Nas, Jay, Big, Pac, Eminem.
Yep, that's 5, right?
Rakim.
Yeah.
Drake,
yeah.
Kanye, Wayne, Snoop.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 10.
That's 10. I think they're gonna put Missy and Nicki in there.
11, 12.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's 12. So we got 8 more spots, right? Let's see. Do you think 50 Cent?
Yes.
I'm gonna put 50 in there. Well, yeah.
50.
It is Billboard. All right, hold up. J. Cole, Kendrick. That's all right. So we got 5 more.
Yep.
J. Cole, Kendrick. 5 more.
I find it very hard to believe that Scarface isn't going to make this list, so we're going to say Scarface.
Scarface, okay. You think 3,000
Scarface doesn't make this list, Mike? I'm going to blow my shit. You understand?
He'll make the list. Do you think 3,000 is going to make the list?
Unfortunately.
Okay.
And misappropriated.
All right, so we got 3 spots left. And you don't think any of those spots are going to go to Kane, Slick Rick, G-Rap?
How? Listen to the artist.
Did you say LL already?
LL. That's
okay. Now we got 2 more.
Now we know those guys aren't making that list.
So we got 2 more.
2 slots left. I want to go back and run this tape and see how accurate we are too.
Right. I want to go back and see how accurate we are too. This is going to be fun. 2 spots left. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. What say you guys?
Ooh, let me see. Let me think.
Because I don't think Ray's going to make it. I think Kane could make it and Slick Rick could make it. But I don't think G-Rap's going to make it. We got 2
that's already out. So I told you as soon as I saw KRS-One at 24, I was like, so there'll be no Cool G-Rap on this list because that's where you would put him at. Like roughly like on this list if he hadn't been here already, like for the people that you already ran down. You're right. The Game's not going to make it.
I don't think Game's going to make it. I don't think AZ's going to make it. I don't think Lupe's going to make it.
Yeah. Ooh, hold on. Lupe.
Think Lupe
there's 2 slots left?
2 slots left. 36 Chambers says they're going to put Kendrick in the top 5 all time and reference.
They better not do that.
And they're going to reference the mid-steppers as a
Ice
game
Cube.
changer.
We forgot Ice Cube, Mike.
Somebody
said Ice Cube.
And we got one more spot left. Okay.
And I think we might be right about this 22, Mike. I think we might have called the 20.
Do you think Eazy-E's going to make it? No?
No.
All right, they're going to put, he said, 36 Chambers says they're going to put Kendrick in the top 5 all time and reference the mid-steppers as a game changer for the culture milestone, as a cultural milestone. Or some other corporate music word salad to justify his placement, I'm sure. Do you think...
Who's the last person? Who are we missing, Mike? Let's shake rattle.
Who are we missing?
Too Short? The Short already on the list?
He's not.
Short Dog.
Okay.
They
Okay.
gotta have some because 40 made the list, right?
Yeah, 40 made the list.
Short.
Think
Too
so?
short.
Oh
That's
no.
the guy I'm missing.
No,
Too
no.
short.
Busta's who we're missing.
Wow. So Too Short's not making the list at all.
Okay.
Or one of the people that we mentioned, I got Busta. I think Busta gets that last slot.
Hold on, Mike. Is Chuck D on this list already?
Yeah, he on the list. They got him at 34.
Hate that to slap the shit out of somebody. Okay.
Andrew Green with the super chat says, has Ice Cube been listed yet? No. Yeah, we covered that. Bruce Almighty, DJ Bruce Almighty says, Ross at 50. Accurate or disrespectful? I think disrespectful, but a lot of this is disrespectful. So, you know. I think
prefer
that
misappropriating.
I do think that Missy and Nicki are going to be on the list. So I don't think that's off. I think that based on how things are going and how they're trying to balance things out a little bit, I could see Missy making the list. Missy has been getting a lot of props lately. So let's go over that again, right? You said Nas, Jay, Eminem, Biggie, Pac, right?
Rakim.
Drake. Wayne.
LL.
Snoop. That's 10.
Snoop.
Okay. So we got, and then second
Scarface.
10, Scarface,
Nicki,
Missy,
said Busta. That's
Busta,
14.
Cube.
15.
That's 15. J. Cole, Kendrick. That's 12. Who are the other three that we left out?
Not as easy as you think when you're running it back off the top of your head with no notes.
Right, with no pen or whatever.
Right.
We'll go back to the tape.
50.
Yeah, 50. Okay. 50's the other one. I'm trying to go by regions and time. Andre. Yep, there we go.
We got one more.
And we got one more. Who else do we say?
You said Busta or Too Short, right?
Nah, those were for the final spot. It's somebody else that. Oh, let me go through it. Who's that final person? I'm sure y'all were watching. Y'all know. Was there somebody more current? You already said Drake. We already said Nicki.
Said Cole, said Kendrick.
Who's that other spot?
Kanye. Somebody just said it, Kanye.
Okay. And they said Busta was already on the list at 33. My bad. So, yeah, Too Short. How did I forget Kanye?
Yeah. Oh, Busta was on the list at 33?
Yeah, Busta was on the list at 33. So, okay, let's throw Too Short in his spot.
Short Dog. Yeah, give me Short.
Yeah. 36 Chambers says Busta's already on the list at 33. Appreciate that. Good looking out, y'all. All right. Well, speaking of lists, Complex does this thing where they do the best rapper alive for every single year of hip-hop. And I could bore you guys with their, all-time list, but they said 21 Savage was the best rapper alive for 2022. Now, I know 2021, they did Tyler, the Creator. You know what? Fuck that. I want to go through and see what their list normally looks like, because one could look at this and say, that's bogus. They don't cover hip hop, this, that, and the third. But I want to kind of go through this. They started in 1979, right? Mm-hmm. And I think 79, let me go through it right now. Since we're on, we might as well. Grandmaster Caz is the best rapper alive in 1979, according to Complex. All right. Curtis Blow for 1980. Kumo Dia 1981. These seem pretty accurate right now, right? Melly Mel for 1982. Run for 83. Although I always thought DMC was the better MC. Run for 84 as well. LL for 85. KRS-One for 86. Rakim 87. Slick Rick 88. And my computer just froze. Okay. Slick Rick 88, I think it was Kane 89.
Kane 89.
Yeah, it was Kane 89. Ice Cube 90.
Q-Tip in 91.
Mm-hmm. Q-Tip
Snoop
91.
Hold on, who was 92?
92 was
Redman's
Redman.
92.
Yep. Snoop Dogg 93.
Snoop's 93. Meth 94?
Nas is 94. Nas is 94. Biggie's 95. Tupac's
Pocket's
96. I mean, these are pretty accurate, right? Biggie 97.
Pretty accurate.
DMX 98. Jay-Z 99. How do you feel about Jay-Z 99?
I got 99 problems, but right now Jay-Z's not one.
Eminem 2000. I got Ghostface on that, but whatever.
That's Ghost.
Yeah. Jay-Z 2001. I think that's the one that's Jay. I think 99 could actually be X again.
No. You can't have 2001.
You got Nas for that?
Michael Stillmatic freestyle. Hold on. The ether, the shit to make your soul burn slow, Mike.
But I mean, the blueprint.
It's not better than Stillmatic.
Summer Jam. Like, and see, Stillmatic came out in December of 01. Like, Jay was running the whole year.
Yeah,
I get
that shit came. See, here's what I'm saying that you forget. The Stillmatic freestyle and ether dropped in 01. You're not taking those two blows. You're not taking those two blows and telling me that you like the champ. No, that's not how championships are won. You don't get hit in the mouth twice and not hit back properly and walk around with a championship belt. When you get hit in the mouth twice, you not swing back appropriately, take that belt off.
You think Nas is 2001? I got Jay for 2001.
It might not be neither one of them.
For 2001, the best rapper alive, I'm giving that one to Jay.
How? But listen. I'm not saying this like on some like greatest MC of all time conversation. I really am parsing it down to the year. How can you listen to the Stillmatic freestyle and listen to Ether, and then actually listen to stuff like Rewind, You're the Man, and What Goes Around in the Stillmatic intro, and tell me that in that year that Jay is a better MC? Where's the evidence?
No, I feel you. I think lyrically, I would say Stillmatic's a better album. Stillmatic lyrically is a better album than The Blueprint, but I think the run that Jay had in 01 from January to December, I would have to put it above the run that Nas had in that year. But I feel you. I think lyrically, the Stillmatic freestyle and all those things, and I mean, clearly it could be some other stuff going on, but Jay also had stuff from 2000 carrying over to 01 as well. I mean, that Summer Jam performance was
epic. You want to know if you want to include the carryover, I can respect the carryover, but that's what I'm saying. It's like all that carryover, this shit started coming to a halt about October, though.
I agree.
2000, and there's never been a halt like that for a Titan like that. You get what I'm saying? Like, nobody's ever been like where he was at.
Jay had any sort of genre stuff.
Of music. Listen to what I'm saying. Nobody's been at the height that he was at. And somebody brought it to a halt, Mike. Not stepping away, just like, no, I'm better than this nigga Yak.
And the reason why,
can't do that.
Somebody like Nas at the level that Nas is and was, the reason why we thought he didn't have a chance is because of how much this guy was running 01.
No.
But
that's what I'm saying, Mike. No, he wasn't. This is all fairness. Well, he wasn't just running 01, Mike. He ran 99 in 2000. That's what I mean. Like 01, how about this? Here's how you need to look at it. You know how, like, the Bulls did that second three-peat?
Yeah.
You remember, like, on the first three-peat, though, where, like, Paxson hit the shot? Like, Jay was on the verge of, like, the three-peat, except for, like, Paxson didn't hit the shot because, like, Nas came and was like, there'll be no more of that. It was blocked. That's what I'm saying. So when you're looking at it, I'm looking at it from the perspective of it's like, no. He dominated 99. That's when Nostradamus came out.
I'm okay with... Well,
he rolled into 2000 because he had, like, Give It To Me and, like, Big Pimpin' and, like all that stuff coming out. And I get that. But in 01, like, oh, no.
by the time that it started to get cold outside, it started to get cold outside for him too. It was cold outside.
Well, I want to hear from Leroy Green with the super chat.
I ain't never seen. Nobody's ever been taken out like that.
Coop, Leroy Green says, Coop, nowhere in America was Stillmatic better or bigger than the Blueprint in 2001. That's like comparing stadium tours to club dates. Ether ain't stopped that.
How about this? Nobody else. What year did Straight Outta Compton come out? Like the East Coast niggas wasn't out selling Straight Outta Compton, but Ice Cube didn't win Best Rapper, now did he?
Oh man, I didn't want to get stuck on this. I see what you're saying.
People just want you see how people always have to go to the notoriety. It's like, nah, fam, talk to me about that fade that he caught on the verge of the three-peat. Don't talk to me about that other stuff. You're on the verge of a three-peat, you caught a fade, and then you caught another one, and you didn't get back up from the other one. You got hit in the mouth, and then you
say
hit in the mouth, and then you caught the uppercut. Mike, it happens. People have had their ass whooped.
It happens.
I've lost fights.
And I think he recovered very nicely. But I do think this, when we talk about, at least to me, when we talk about the aura and the legacy of Jay-Z and his career, we're talking about 98 to 01. Like, that's in my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, that's the height of his, his powers, his influence, him, wearing throwbacks and getting people to, wear what he was wearing. Rhyme the way he was rhyming, flow the way that he was flowing. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. But nah, man, 01, man, I got to get at the Jay. I mean, he put in that work in that year. 2000, though, I think the best MC was Ghost. But that's an interesting year because there was a lot of huge commercial stuff going on with, what Eminem had going on, what Ludacris had going on. I want to talk about Luda in a second, too, because he put out something about that Made You Look verse. And we need to see if he is placed properly also. And I think 2000 is his biggest year, in my opinion. Rocket Shot with the super chat says, Nas got 2001. It's like Mike Tyson, quick first round KO. Jay did a lot in that first round, but Nas came and dropped Ether on his born day and KO'd him. I mean, but is that fair when Nas dropped in December and this man was running January through November? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think that the way that the storybook is going to be told, it looks like for that most of that year, we were rocking to Jay's records. LP with the super chat says, Coop, if anything, Nas got 02. Jay had carried over from 2000, plus the Blueprint and how he washed Pete. Exactly. We can't overlook how he washed Prodigy, right? Nas dropped Godson and the Lost Tapes and still dropped Stillmatic in December of 01. I'm more comfortable with giving Nas 02 for that simple fact, like LP said. He had Godson.
No, 02 is Nas. That's easy.
Well, they got Eminem for 02.
No. There'll be none of that either.
You think Nas over Eminem for 02?
I mean, when did Stillmatic come out?
Yeah, December of 01. You got all that carryover, and you still get Godson in 02, and you get the Lost Tapes in 02.
And I mean, I'm about to say, didn't 50 come out in 03?
Yep.
I damn near would give him 03 if it weren't for 50.
Not 50, something else, man.
I mean, think about it. I Can was still playing in the summertime of 03.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50 Cent 03, T.I. 04, Jeezy 05, Lil Wayne 06, Kanye 07, Lil Wayne 08, Jay-Z 09, and my computer froze again. Let's see. I want to make sure I ain't miss anybody's super chat. Leroy Green with the super chat says Volume 2, Volume 3, Dynasty, Blueprint 1, Blueprint 2, Black Album, Prime. I like the Blueprint 2. I'm one of those people. I think the Blueprint 2 is a very important album. He had to respond musically, and because Ether hit heavy, and he had to come with some records that were going to be notable records, and he did that, for a few. I think that the double disc was safe and not safe at the same time. Like, it was safe as far as making sure your numbers were in line, right? And it was safe also in the fact that we could give the excuse that if it's a mid, it's a double disc. But the unsafe part of it was the fact that he had to deliver a lot of records. And, you know, it wasn't going to get heralded too much. Dane with the super chat says, as a diehard Nas fan, Blueprint is better than Stillmatic. Stillmatic has a few sleepy moments. Stillmatic has Braveheart Party. 007 with the super chat says, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. That's why Nas gets 01. You gave Magic album of the year in 2022, remember? It's a good point. It's a good point. Jay Short with the super chat says, all the pieces are coming together for you know who to be number one at the Billboard list. So we better get ready, especially after Harry Styles floundered and curtain called too. Underwhelming.
They know they can't put him at number one. I imagine that.
I think Jay-Z is going to get number one.
I think Jay or Big or Pac are going to end up number one on this list.
I think Pac might get it, yeah.
I think, I mean, if I was on the outside looking in, I would pick Tupac.
Yeah.
On the outside looking in, I would put Tupac outside of the sphere looking in, which is why I believe he's our logo. Drake and Kanye and Kendrick are going to be in the top 10. I would not be surprised if all of them are ahead of Nas.
I wouldn't be surprised either. Because, you know,
they
can't stand Nas.
People like this do.
Yeah, they can't stand Nas. 2010, Kanye West. I think 2011 was Wayne. Man, this page has my computer freezing up. They're giving me viruses. All right, Drake is 2011, excuse me.
They're trying to slow us down, Mike. You know
right.
What it is.
Drake is 2011. Nicki is 2014. I think Drake was 2013 as well. No, Kendrick was 2013, of course. Good Kid, Mad City. All right, Nicki 2014, Drake 2015. Chance the Rapper 2016. Lord have mercy. Kendrick Lamar 2017. Pusha T 2018. 2019 was The Baby. 2020 was The Baby. He got 2 in a row. Shout out to The Baby. 2021 was Tyler, the Creator. And now we got 21 Savage. Now, this is what I want to
When were they actively like making these lists? Like when were they a thing and this list mattered? Because the retroactive, it's easy to do the retroactive stuff
because they're going off of other sources. I think when they started doing it was probably around The Baby or Pusha T or something.
Right.
Now, and you know what? I think they may have started this list with that Chance the Rapper pick. Everything else was like, you know what I'm saying, they were able to research. Listen.
Now, where does the list get suspect at?
Yeah, right. Chance the Rapper, definitely. No one in the world will tell you in 2016 Chance the Rapper was the best rapper in hip hop.
I mean, that
didn't age well.
Is that the damn year?
2016 is... Help us out, guys. What came out in 2016? Go ahead and Google that while I'm let me get to these super chats. 36 Chambers says, not my personal choice, but I'm not upset with Pocket number one. Yeah, me either. I think that's a very safe choice. Kendall Outlaw with the super chat says, Jay has 3 subpar albums like Kingdom Come, Magna Carta, and 444. Listen, those are my bottom 3, to be perfectly honest.
We are aware.
Yeah, man, 444 is underwhelming. You know, I think
Cold did For Your Eyes Only in 2016.
Was 2016 that week?
2016 was pretty bad, Mike.
Let me see. Best hip hop albums of 2016. Did Travis come out that year? Blank Face came out that year.
I'll give it the Q.
Yeah, this is it's an interesting year. So yeah, I see Tribe came back with their album, right? The Life of Pablo came out. Coloring Book by Chance the Rapper. We got Schoolboy Q with Blank Face. Birds in the Trap sing Bright McKnight, Travis, YG, Still Brazy, Black America again by Common. I think that was the best rap album of the year, but you know, whatever. Views by Drake. Yeah. Shit, I wouldn't have been mad if they gave it to 21 in that year. Savage Mode came out. Shit.
Might have made more sense then.
Right. Because the thing is, man, like, what has 21 done in 2022? That's tongue tying. To actually deserve to be the best rapper of 2022. You got washed on the record with Nas. He got washed pretty much on all those Drake records. I don't really understand this pick.
I'm struggling a little bit. I would prefer that if you're going to pick an MC of the year, that they at least have a solo album.
Yeah. Or at least have some features where you're like,
here's what I really think that they're doing. Well, they're saying, well, we have to remain relevant, and we have to remain in the stratosphere of attracting younger viewers. And all of our best rappers last year were over 35, and we're not going to do that.
I wouldn't have been mad if they would have went the Denzel Curry route or something, you know? I mean, because at the end of the day...
They knew that they couldn't even try to pass that off. 21 is the only young name that they had last year that they could pass off. Because if you look at it, look at all the years that they're even picking them. It's like, really, I mean, Mike, if you really want to know the truth, well, is Q-Tip better than Rakim in 1991? Hell no.
No.
You feel me? But is Q-Tip considered to have a younger and fresher sound than Rakim in 1991? Well, hell yeah. You get what I'm saying?
I think so I think Complex's pick should have been Freddie Gibbs.
But that's what and that's why I preface this by saying, well, Gibbs is our age, Mike. He's 40, 41.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that.
But they cover him a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of those guys that, you know, may be older, but he gets covered a lot by, you know, some of these trendy.
But he's doing Nas numbers, though. So how can you cover him when he's doing Nas numbers, though? You feel me?
He put out a solo album, though. Like you said, man, I think even with the Baby pick and
you could have gave me Benny and I would have been happy too. But once again, he's over 35 as well. They won't be doing that, Mike.
I don't think Savage, they ever picked anybody.
You know, Savage needs to be happy that he got this, because Savage about 30, 31 now. He only a few years away from not being able to make this list.
I don't think they picked anybody ever who didn't drop a solo album. At least not.
No, think about this, Mike.
Outside of the people in the early 80s. You know?
Here's how you know that it's truly a young man's game. They picked Savage even over Drake.
They should have picked, you know, speaking of young man's game, you know who they really should have picked, man? They should have picked J.I.D. That's a slap in the face to J.I.D., to be honest. From the same side of town, everything. It's a slap in the face to J.I.D. There's no way in the world you can parse it out, even to the young audience, that 21 Savage out-rapped J.I.D. in 2022. What are you listening to?
Now, you've said something, because when I look at J.I.D., who has shown the capability to rhyme next to an East Coast upper echelon MC like a Conway and not miss a beat, the ability to storytell, to be lyrical, to be witty, to be fundamentally sound on the mic, to create, quite frankly, J.I.D.'s album to me is better than anything Savage has ever made.
Oh, definitely.
As a solo artist.
It's no question.
And so, you know, I'm not saying this is somebody who the part of me that's from Atlanta representing Zone 6, so I don't want to come off as biased either. But you said something very, very strong, because if we're playing a young man's game, well, he's younger, he's better, he makes a better product, he made more product, he is more of what you would call an MC's MC that's respectable of making this list based on everybody that you have on this list, sans Chance the Rapper, Tyler, and the Baby.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, man, you have a list or an article that says best rapper alive in 2022, right? There's no way that, let's just say 10 years in the future, you could play 21 Savage's raps from 2022 and play J.I.D.'s raps in 2022 and tell anybody who is a rap listener, this guy was a better rapper than this guy in that year. How so? See, this is what we got to move away from. And I know even when we do our list, there's a lot of factors that compile in there, but a lot of us hold certain things higher than other parts of the criteria. And I think we all need to look at it in a balanced way. But hip hop is yet to really have a list that just didn't favor the popular people. And that's exactly what this is. This is a popularity contest, right? Like JID is a major artist, signed to a major label, dropped a highly anticipated effort on his end. You know what I mean? And 21 Savage dropped he didn't even drop an album. He dropped an album with the biggest artist of his day and really didn't out-rap him on there. And you're giving him precedence over somebody like JID, who basically made their breakthrough album in 2022. That doesn't send a good, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't push us forward.
If you are a Drake fan, Mike, what you should be encouraged by is that, well, he is the older rapper in that combination, and he clearly out-rapped 21 on that album. And so if you were excited about a Drake album this coming year, like in 2023, I would tell you would have reason to feel that way, because a guy who was supposed to be, quote-unquote, in his prime as an MC, well, we just watched him outperform him on the mic. Mm-hmm. Like on some rap shit.
Let's just be perfectly honest. You know me, I like 21 Savage. You know what I'm saying? I love when he raps with Metro. I actually was listening to Metro's album last night, thinking about the fact that Walk 'Em Down and all of that, like 21 sounds different when he's on Metro stuff. Now, if he had a full album of that stuff, I'd be kind of okay with this. But let's just be perfectly honest. Like, 21 just doesn't have the ability to rap at the level of somebody like a JID. You know what I'm saying? Like, certain people just don't have that ability. Like, niggas don't have the ability to rap at the level that Raekwon and Ghost and those guys rap at. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we got here. Like, you can make dope music. So not only do you not have that ability to out-rap this guy over here, this guy actually made better music than you. Jay Short with the super chat says, cool, Mike, why wouldn't they put Eminem at number one? Interested to hear your opinion. I think that the more that they elevate Eminem to that level, it discredits him slightly, and they don't want to do that to him. Because they know that everybody, like myself and others out there, would be speaking on the fact that, see, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be proof positive. So they're going to put him in more of a safer place where they're not going to shoot him all the way to the top, but they're going to put him in a place where it could be justified in their eyes.
No, so this is what I mean. So the only valid argument I think would be a JID in a year like this against a 21, because you have to understand, and this is why I keep repeating our criteria. Well, you have to understand some of what their criteria is, even when they're not telling you. That's why I'm kind of telling it to you right now. It's like, well, I'm letting you know, well, it's a young man's game that they're playing. They're not even picking 23-year-old Rakim. They're picking 18-year-old Rakim. They're picking 20-year-old Slick Rick. They're picking 19-year-old Nas. They're picking 23-year-olds. You get what I'm saying? So it's a young man's game that they're playing. Like, 21 is probably the oldest person that they've picked since outside of Pusha T in terms of the age that he wanted, because 21 is in his 30s, but he is looked at as being younger than he actually is, if that makes sense.
No, definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
And, it's it's a slap in the face to JID, because this is his, I think that this right here is going to be his breakout album. You don't have too many moments like this. Like, this is supposed to be his moment to be heralded. And
we feel different because I think he can do much better, Mike.
I think he can do better, but I think that based on everything that was surrounding this and the anticipation and how he delivered for the people that knew that he could deliver, this was his moment. Mad Max for the super chat says, Dave East dropped the best rap album after Kanye in 2016. Okay.
I think the JID's best moment is yet to come, actually, Mike. So I don't agree with that sentiment at all. I don't think this is the moment that he's going to be remembered for. I actually think that he is capable of more and is going to show us shortly.
I think they should have given it to Kodak over 21 as well. Thank you, guys.
Did Kodak do a project?
Yeah, remember he went for Dolo on that bitch. It was good.
I'm with, like I said, for the criteria that they're playing, and they're playing a young man's game. I would prefer Kodak, even
He
on
had
that
one of the bigger
notarized scale
songs of the year
um,
too. Even though that song kind of technically came out, a calendar year before, but it carried over.
Well, I mean, but I'm talking about just like moving the meter
Yeah.
for what it is that they're looking for too. Kodak checks the same boxes 21 does, and if not, and you and I talked about this when we talked about his album. Well, he can carry songs as a solo artist in a
Yep.
way his contemporaries, quite frankly, can't. Like a 21,
Yep.
like a 21 needs to do an album with a Drake for it to sound even at a certain quality. He needs Metro, and I don't mean this to say things that like detractors, like he's not talented or doesn't have talent. But do I think he's Kodak? No. Do I think he's JID? No. So am I okay with the pick? No. Do I understand? Yes. Is it a little wrong that it's like Nas and Black Thought aren't like vying for this? It's like yes, but also know what we're dealing with.
Of course. And again, I think that Gibbs is a safer pick in that way, but I think the pick really should have been a JID. Shit, I think Gunna actually,
Gunna dropped
deserves
a
it
dope
more.
album last year.
But he's not going to get that, obviously, because of what's going on. But I think Kodak and JID definitely
Got other
should
things
have
to worry about, Mike.
Yeah. Kodak and JID definitely should have gotten that spot. Mad Max with the super chat says they really trying to keep the South afloat with 21. They don't want to hand the
What's he
crown
trying to
back to NY. He's from the UK. They trying to get a crown to back to the royal family. Sounds like to me. LP with the super chat says 21 wasn't the best rapper on his own album. Shaking my head. That's fair.
Oh man, people in the chat going wild on Gunna. This one time I got other problems, Mike.
36 Chambers with the super chat says JID had 21 Savage on surround sound on the Forever Story, and they aren't even rapping in the same sport. Disrespectful to put 21 there over him. Yeah, and see that's the thing too. He rapped on the same track with this guy. That's hard to.
I would actually meet both of y'all somewhere in the middle and tell you Kodak deserves it over both of them based on what I find their criteria.
I'm fine with that. But the thing is, man, it's hard to put somebody on the list as the best rapper alive in that calendar year when they're getting washed by everybody that they're on a song with. He got washed by Tyler in 2022. He got washed by JID. He got washed by Drake for most of that album with the exclusion of maybe 2 songs. He got washed by Nas when Nas just popped up and made a song just based on some what is it? I always forget the name of that damn app. Some talk. What is it? I don't even want to say Checkmate. I see the icon in my head. Whatever. Anyway, Clubhouse, yes. I never used Clubhouse, man. I'm not a fan, respectfully. So, you hear Jay-Z is going to be performing at the Grammys. Is that where we're going next? I don't know.
Man, it looks like you kind of took us there, so that's cool.
Nas performed at the Grammys last year, right?
I was actually thinking when you told me the Grammys were February 5th, I'm like, that's a little bit too close to the Madison Square Garden performance for my liking. Yeah. But what I will do is engage in a little bit of plug talk courtesy of Taj, because I just read this in the chat.
Okay. Got some plug talk?
Got a little plug talk. Not a lot, but a little. I was just streaming through it for a minute.
Okay. What say you?
No. It's a little plug talk. Okay. While we're told Harry Styles and Jay-Z are due to be on, the latter possibly in tandem with DJ Khaled, industry. Yeah. Word has it quite a few of the top tier nominees have bowed out of taking the stage on music's biggest night. As of now, neither Taylor Swift, Beyonce, nor Kendrick Lamar has committed to being on the show. And insiders say it's unlikely they'll be in the lineup, though nothing is set in stone quite yet. We're hearing pretty definitively, though, that Adele won't be performing or appearing. The Grammy TV campaign, nothing less. That's all I got so far.
Is the Grammys losing its luster where you got big time artists that aren't even, participating? When you got somebody like Kendrick Lamar and Beyonce, right? They got the most nominations, 8 and 9 or something like that. If they're not participating, what does that say about music's big night?
Well, listen, Who's actually, this is how the article starts. Taj posted it. Who's actually performing on the Grammys? It's becoming increasingly difficult for Jack Sussman and his team to produce a great show as the Recording Academy continues to place enormous hurdles in their way, and more major artists say they've had enough. On Wednesdays, the first performers were announced. Bad Bunny, Mary J. Blige, Brandy Carlisle, Luke Combs, Steve Stacey, Lizzo, Kim Petras, and Sam Smith. I tell you to all that outside of Mary J. Blige, boo.
You know what the problem is, though, and from what you just read,
they don't pay people either. That's the problem.
Well,
that's the real plug talk. It's a free performance for one.
Yeah.
Listen to what Taj is saying. It's a free performance for one, and they normally get snubbed. It's good for marketing, though.
Well, yeah, it is. But this is the thing.
I
don't think that the industry has been able to churn out new stars anymore, because you can run that whole, like you said, it's ran its course for a lot of artists. You got to at least a good 3 to 4 years to get artists really, really excited about that night. And then after that, they're like, yeah, I've done that before, whatever. I've been doing this for years and years. I don't want to do that, whatever. But a new artist is going to go out there and give you their all. They're going to go out there on stage and cry. They're going to go out there and leave it all on the field, right? And they haven't been able to churn out these new superstars like that. And they also haven't done a good job of making this important to young people anymore. So, I mean, because we're the Doja Cats, right?
Let's address it on those levels.
Yeah.
You're old and you're played. That's the first part. The second part goes back to the conversation that Glove and I were having. Well, DJs don't break records. And guess what happens when you don't break records? You don't break new artists either. Ain't no new artists being broken. Yep. Like, have you noticed? When's the last time a superstar came along, Mike?
The first one that would come to mind, I would say a Lizzo. I would say, again, a Doja Cat, and maybe a Cardi.
How long has that been now?
I wouldn't even count Cardi. Cardi came out, 18?
When Doja Cat come out? I wouldn't even count Cardi. Cardi's something different.
Yeah, she's something different. I think Doja and Lizzo are more...
What year is that?
It has to be 2019-ish or something. But even with them,
right? 2018.
Probably. Even with them, though, Coop, it's not like 5 or 6 or 7 of them are coming in the door. It's just one. You know what I'm saying? Like, DaBaby was a superstar for a second, and then that happened. And then Megan comes through the door. She's a superstar for a second, and then boom, that happens, right? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen in bunches anymore. And who are the young people excited? At least let's just say, not even just the young people, the young hip hop fan. Who are they excited to see at the Grammys? Who are they championing? That's like, yo, Wu-Tang's on stage, like how we were in '97. Like, yo, Wu-Tang's gonna be at the Grammys. That's crazy. I want to at least watch it just to see what'll happen. Who are they championing at the Grammys? They have no representation. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, Jay-Z about to rap the God Did verse and get 24-hour CNN news coverage for a week straight for a mid 4-minute verse. Will take away from Nas's Madison Square Garden show.
I'm pretty certain that they give nice gift baskets and like arrangements and like they give you a nice little like gift bag like when you do the Grammy performance. But ain't no bread being broken though.
I mean, it's promotion. That's what it is. I mean, well, again, they're gonna have to change their models, but you know, how much can you really listen? At the end of the day, Coop, you cannot pay a room full of artists of this caliber what they normally get paid a show. No one can afford a fucking show like that anyway. So they can't pay.
So you forward this conversation many times on this show, and you've been the purveyor of it.
And I think we're starting to see some real evidence of it, Mike. And the artists are giving us the evidence. Do we even need these award shows anymore? And I don't want to get on a soapbox, but it's like when you invest so much into this white man's world and this white man's way of thinking, you get what I'm saying?
I think the award show is an outdated model.
No, I mean, the math, what people be saying, the math not mathing, it's like, well, I'm pulling up to perform for free when everywhere else that I go, I get paid to do it. You might not even hand me a Grammy. Like, I don't know, like you did Nas last year, had him come perform, and he didn't get a Grammy.
Like I told you was going to happen, too.
Like you told me
and
was going to
happen. And people were
happen.
sitting here coming at me like, yo, man, why you hating? And y'all, no. It's how these people get down.
Right. So think about this. I'm coming to perform for free, get snubbed, sit around a bunch of people I probably wouldn't hang out with on a normal day otherwise, and I could be, I don't know, enjoying my motherfucking life. Like, think about this. The Grammys,
or getting
for
like
some of these
50
big time
grand a
artists,
show.
It's actually becoming like maybe a time to like vacate and get away from all this music industry madness. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, no, you can have that. I got 7 of those. Go ahead.
It's like the all-star break for NBA players. Like, yo, man, like, shit, I might just want to go home and chill.
Rich Paul taking Adele to the Maldives in February, nigga.
Man, Max of the Super Chat says, well, to the star point, the internet killed the music star because the internet, we have cult fan bases or niche audiences. The masses are a split sector now, definitely. And we appreciate that. That's why we're here. DJ Bruce Almighty with the Super Chat says, have y'all ever listened to Damani? If so, what do you think of him? I think he's dope. I think that you can tell he's very 3000 influenced.
Does he have any new stuff that we haven't heard in this past year? I didn't hear anything last year. But.
I think I heard something the other day. He might have posted. It was like a freestyle or something.
Okay.
I think that the awards show in general is an outdated model. I mean, we have to understand that award shows were initially put together to sell records. Records don't sell anymore. So that factor is out of there, right? So when you remember back in the day, everybody, well, the rappers mostly did. It'd be like at the MTV Awards or the BET Awards. Every presenter would get on stage and be like, hey, yo, my album coming out February 15th. Make sure you check that out, blah, blah, blah. It's a promotional stage. And that, that's just the core of what an award show
unless Jay is
anyway.
Pulling up to announce that he is literally dropping an album, Mike.
What?
Why? That's what I'm saying. It's like it doesn't behoove these artists to do this anymore. Like, think about who Adele is. Does Adele need the Grammys? Do the Grammys need Adele?
Well, that's what I'm saying, though, Coop.
Does Beyonce need the Grammys, or do the Grammys need Beyonce?
Well, of course. I mean, that's what it's become. But that's what I'm saying. Like, initially, the artists needed these award shows to actually get on a basic television platform to promote their albums. And for people who really weren't paying attention to music like that, were able to be like, yo, that person's talented. Maybe I'll go buy their album, right? Now it's not even like that because, nobody's buying music. So now the award shows need the artists where it used to be that the artists need the award shows. And now you're seeing what happens when the award shows need the artists. The artists are like, nah, I'm good. Before, you used to be like, yo, I need to perform at the Grammys so that I could sell an extra, 50, 500,000 or whatever.
No, like when Stevie won Album of the Year, 3 out of 4 years in the 70s, I think it's like 72 or like 71, 72, and 74. I think are the years that he won, something like that, or 72, 74, 75, or whatever. Like, no. The Grammys were different then, Mike. It was important, and it was one of those things you have to understand. Stevie didn't make the biggest or the best records necessarily those years. He made the best albums and the best product.
Yeah.
And he got actually recognized for it. It was something that actually lined up to the musical integrity of the business. Yeah. Once you take the musical integrity component out of it, an award show is tainted.
Yeah. It's easy to do that. You lose credibility. We're seeing all the time with these different lists, and a lot of publications are losing credibility. And honestly, the Grammys
didn't win Album of the Year, Mike.
I don't remember what Off the Wall was up against.
It doesn't matter.
Just trying to be fair.
It doesn't matter.
Trying to be fair. But yeah, I mean, I think that the Grammys never had credibility when it comes to hip hop, but it used to at least be one of those things where, well, you made it a long way if you get this invite to this stage or get, put in a certain category. Now, it doesn't matter to anybody, and the show is suffering from it.
And they kind of treat our hip hop artists like it's a lifetime achievement award. Like, I'll never forget. It's like I can remember Poverty's Paradise, Naughty by Nature's third album.
Yeah,
winning Best Rap Album in 1995, and I'm thinking like, any of us that know them and know that that's the weakest thing that they've put out so far. And you should have handed this Grammy to them 4 years ago when they made OPP.
Well, I think for this generation, or maybe a previous generation, the Grammys lost them when they gave Macklemore best rap album of A Good Kid, Mad City. They missed a huge opportunity at that point. And the following year not the following year, but when Kendrick came back out, they gave him all those awards for To Pimp a Butterfly, but nobody even care, because we know that you gave Macklemore,
we know what you did,
rap album of the year over Good Kid, Mad City. Like, you can't undo that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that can't be undone. Kendall Outlaw with the super chat says Stevie Wonder versus Lionel Richie. Who you got?
Stevie.
I'm not even gonna answer that.
Wash.
Yeah, man. Much respect to Lionel Richie though, but nah, they're not even on the same level.
No. Lionel can hit Stevie like on a high level. It's just like them high levels is only like 4 or 5 songs. Stevie got like 70, 80, 90. Like, you know how many great songs Stevie Wonder got?
There aren't many people on Stevie's level. So I'm not saying that to disrespect Lionel Richie.
No, I'm saying he can hit the level. I'm just saying it's like he only got like 4, 5, 6 songs hitting that level that Stevie lives in.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
But speaking of Macklemore, did you like that premiere? That track that he did with Premiere?
It was pretty good, actually. I did.
You liked it?
I liked it.
It's missing something.
It is, but it was good. I found myself to be moderately impressed, and in these days, that seems to be an impossibility with me at times when it comes to people who I'm not already like a fan of.
Yeah.
Like, it's harder. You do get a little bit more rigid when you get older. Like, it's harder to make these top 50 lists because it's harder to make people like you and me fans. And so, some of this younger generation is faced with the difficulty and the dilemma of making people like us into fans. But when it happens, it happens. I told you, Mike, I wasn't big on Rick Ross like first couple, like 2, 3 albums.
It took time. Well, I mean,
the Maybach music with Wayne and Kanye is when I really started listening, because I was like, I think he has the best verse on there. I was like, hold on. I was like, when the fuck did he start having the best verse on a song with these niggas? I'm like, hold on, what did I miss? I need to start listening to Ross. And, and from there, it's usually a progression. So,
well, I liked Benny the Butcher from Jump. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's something that Benny the Butcher does on the mic that Macklemore just doesn't do for me.
No, I get you.
And it's not even the content. I know that's an easy place for people to go and just be like,
No, it's a feeling, Mike.
Yeah, it's something different, man. It's a feeling.
It is.
It's something that you can't explain. It's something that's not tangible that can't explain.
No, it's the intangible thing. It's what makes. How about this? It's what makes that Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes conversation valid. Because if you're just looking at the gifts, you're like, that's not a valid conversation. But then it's like game time, and you're like, hold the fuck on. It's like, what? Benny has that. And that's why I'm telling you, like, he has a lot of best MC in the game capabilities, because he provides an effect and a feel when he hits the mic that a lot of your all-time great MCs had. It's like, oh, okay. Like when he comes in on blow for blow mic, not a lot of MCs today can do that.
Exactly.
I'm not just talking about the mic performance. I'm talking about the feeling.
No, I mean, I think somebody in the chat is misunderstanding what I'm saying. I don't listen to Macklemore. And it's one of those weird things, kind of like the Logic thing, right? It's like when you listen to them, they're doing everything right. You know what I'm saying? It's like I can't really explain why I'm just not into it,
Now let's pause for a second, because I listened to Vinyl Days today.
Mm-hmm.
So the Macklemore song, it's not as good as the Logic song.
It's not. Now, it's not. And again.
Now, hold on, but listen to what I was about to say. But neither one of those songs provide that feeling you're talking about that Benny provides you. Like, or even Freddie does some of the same thing. It's like when Soul Separately comes in, it's like, and he's like, they done let the bills and the dough. I'm like, oh, you can't, Freddie got that effect too. It's different.
Yeah. And like,
Different.
shout out to Conductor. He was in our comment section on Instagram, man. When I hear Blow for Blow come in, or
Conductor, we have
Super
a
Kick
problem.
Party or something, like, that shit is different, man. Like,
Conductor, we have a problem.
you know
How
what I
can we
mean?
say
Like,
that, listen, how can we say that West Side Gun has supplanted Rick Ross as the best beat picker and not shout out Conductor and Derringer and Beat Butcher? You feel what I'm saying? It's
exactly.
like where he getting most of these beats from?
No, you're right.
Hold on. So since Conductor's watching, Conductor, since you got time to like pull up, you talking about you got tracks for Shannon Sharp's album, like you got some interview time, Conductor?
Holla at us, Conductor. Conductor's hot out here, man.
Conductor, we have no. How about this? If there was like a step your game up beat making category that we had, his would be it. Because I feel like he was like somebody that you would consider to be borderline elite. You know what I'm saying? But he's officially a guy that I think like people outside of the Griselda camp need to be looking for beats from officially.
I mean, again, Super Kick Party, Blow for Blow. Yeah. I mean, shit. Even the Soulja Boy record, like, not like Soulja Boy's record, but you know what I'm talking about, yeah, with Conway. And using the Thriller skits and all that, man, crazy. Uncle Fran with the super chat says, "Coop, I have my Madison Square Garden Nas tickets since day one. The plug is showing the Nasirian syndrome be living in 5-minute performances and going to deviate the attention. Get your tickets, folks, and stop being worried." Nah, ain't nothing gonna deviate that attention. Listen, I don't. What do you think Jay's gonna do on that stage? I mean, I think it's just gonna be the God did thing, but I know how television works. I don't see a verse like that being able to be sped in its entirety. He might do a short version of it. If he does.
And here's the other thing too. I just thought about this. Elite MCs used to not be afraid to take chances. Like, I've talked a lot about Snoop this year, man. You know how many chances that man took? Like, think about how long it was before he found that rhythm and found Pharrell. Think about how many years between Doggy Style and when you hear From the Church to the Palace and Beautiful.
No, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like 4 or 5 years.
No, you're right.
Like sometimes you have to like be willing to go find what works for you. So what was encouraging about Benny's post was I hope he's finding what works for him, because here's the thing. As much as we was all saying, it's like, well, just give us an album with Alchemist and Derringer. Well, he just did that. It was Tana Talk 3.
Yeah.
And it was good, but it didn't produce the results and that's not to take anything away from the project. It's a really, really dope project. I enjoyed it. But I don't think it produced those legendary MC results that he aspires or desires to, quite frankly. And I think that he knows that. And so, I hope he's somewhere like digging, not even MC wise, like sound wise. Sometimes it's just finding the sound that works for you. It's like, we didn't know that Pharrell and Snoop was going to sound like that until it sounded like that.
Mm-hmm. I'm encouraged in the fact that Benny is down to continuously, like you said, take chances and feels like he hasn't hit that peak yet.
Yeah, no, because I love what he's doing. Hit Boy.
Because most people would be comfortable with where he's at. He's in a good place right now.
Yeah, he could do this for another 5-7 years and be cool, man.
Yeah, but the fact that he's reaching for more is great.
He could autopilot right here for about 5-7 years and do his show thing and the merch thing that they're doing and all that, and just kind of coast and flip it into other business endeavors and kind of bow out gracefully. Yeah, perfectly.
He should call out Complex for this BS of 21 being 22's best rapper alive.
He deserves consideration for this, because even though he's not necessarily a young man, he is still newer and fresher. And quite frankly, his guest appearances were blistering. His album was really, really fucking dope, and he deserves a look.
Yeah. CJ Kid with the super chat, and we'll get up out of here. He says, was Pharrell to Snoop what Kanye was to Common, the career saver? I don't think that Pharrell, quote unquote, saved Snoop's career. Speaking of Common and career saving, what do you think about Common doing a 20th anniversary performance at the Kennedy Center for Electric Circus? Did you see this coming?
So let me get this straight. Electric Circus came out after Like Water for Chocolate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we doing?
Yeah, it is.
Like Water for Chocolate celebrated this 20. Like, is that what we doing? I'm just clear that's what we doing. I just want everybody to take a good look around. You want to talk about some Electric Circus? When Like Water for Chocolate just passed? Like what? Sure you want to talk about Electric Circus, Mike?
I thought Electric Circus was 02. Am I wrong? Hold on.
No, remember January. Remember we came out the first of the year, remember?
Oh, okay.
Remember we looked it up because you're like, because remember Come Close, it come on like late summer, early fall. And you're like, nah, but it's like, no.
Yeah.
It dropped January 1st.
It says December 10th, 2002.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, that's what it says. But
Either way,
whatever.
it's very problematic.
Anyway, I guess you can't do one of those things like in December. All right, this is how I feel about it. I agree with you. I think of all the albums to celebrate leading up to that point, definitely Like Water for Chocolate should have been celebrated. It had the same cast of production and really the same, I don't want to say the same feel as Electric Circus, but it was the same personnel, really. And I think that if there's one album that really closely identifies with, I guess who Common is overall, it is Like Water for Chocolate. And I think it's interesting that he is doing a performance that celebrates an album that I liked, but it was very experimental in the fact where it really seemed to be the furthest from him that we ever got. I mean, outside of Universal Mind Control, I don't even count that. So for him to celebrate this one, I think is interesting. Maybe he feels like this album gets a unnecessary bad rap. But to piggyback on that, he fed into the fact that this album got a bad rap on many occasions. That the song that he had, well, She Trying to Ride, right? And Heard Him Say on B. So, and on The College Dropout, he has dissed Electric Circus himself.
He just don't know which way he going.
And you know what? As a person who actually liked the album, I was disappointed in the fact that he used to diss the album. Like, I get it.
As somebody that likes him, I'm disappointed in him.
I feel like, man, this might be more of I'm going to move away from this Kanye shadow thing. Because B is the album that should be celebrated. And like you said, Like Water for Chocolate.
It's Like Water for Chocolate's Dilla.
Yeah. Well, so was Electric Circus, but
we talking about the good Dilla album he did, though.
I like Electric Circus, but yeah, it's not Like Water for Chocolate.
You want to know what? You want to know what, Mike? I'm going to listen to Electric Circus today. We do have a couple more things to clean house on because I want to talk about this Ed Reed situation because you actually got me like a little. I watched the little snippet that you sent me, but there was a couple more things I wanted to cover before that, and then we can get out of here.
Okay, go ahead.
The Made You Look remix, Mike. It was going down as like one of those like all-time great remixes, and now it's to the point that it has people arguing about who has the best verse. Now, for me, I still feel like the best punchline still belonged to Kiss. The best flow belonged to Nas, but Luda has the best verse on the Made You Look remix, Mike. Am I wrong? So? I actually think it's one of his seminal moments as an MC and as an artist. The fact that he was able to get Kiss and Nas on this record, barely.
You think so? I know he took to Instagram and he quoted his verse. I don't know, man. It's just once again something's missing. I don't know, man.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you what. I prefer Kiss's verse.
I think Kiss might have. I love Nas's delivery, the way he came in with
his delivery on there is stupid. That's one of Nas's best deliveries.
Well, first of all, let me say this: the original's way better than the remix. So I've never really
one of the best rap songs.
I've never checked for the remix like that. Anyway, I think the remix was more so about the fact that we got Ludacris and Jada on here, and I think Luda did a great job by even. Sounding as great as he did on there. One of the things that I think is Ludacris's gifts, he has a great rap voice. Mm-hmm. He has great flow. Now, as far as like his punchlines and stuff, they're cool. You know what I mean? Like, and his freestyle ability is high, and his ability to make songs, right? But when he spit that verse a cappella, it just wasn't. It wasn't that. It wasn't as great as I thought it was over the beat.
First of all, everything's different behind the Made You Look beat. Everything's different. The world's different behind that beat, Mike. It's a whole
I understand
color of
what you're
behind
saying,
that beat
but cool.
different.
When you quote Prodigy's verse on I Shot Ya, it's like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? And you don't need the beat. And that's one of the greatest beats ever, in my opinion. So you could take great beats out and the vocals will still be like, because I be hearing people saying Luda's underrated and all. What bars,
no, I feel
man?
You. No, Mike. I still hear P in my head. I conversate with many men. It's time to begin again. Forgot what I already knew. You hear me, friend? Illuminati with my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society trying to keep their eye on me. But I'ma stay incognito in places they can't find me. Make moves strategically. The G.O.D. is sort of similar but iller than a chess player. No, that nigga's stupid. He's different. That's different.
And that's different than I'm from the school of hard knocks, sneak peeks, and low blows. Like,
no. Prodigy's different. That's different. That's what I'm saying. No, that's what I mean. It's like for
like
me
boa
personally.
constrictors. It's the Mr. Luda, Jada, and Nas, and our bullets give you a deep tissue massage.
That's nice, Mike. No,
it's cool.
I prefer Kiss's verse. I think Kiss technically has the best verse on there, but it's like objectively, when we talk about the totality of all things, well, if you take the flow with the delivery, with the lyrics, with the punchlines, it's like, no, if you told me Luda had the best verse on there, I wouldn't argue with you in the fact that he can say that in a room with a Jada and a Nas, like in their prime. No, I think that's saying a lot. Nas' flow on there is disgusting. Whatever Luda's between the three of them is probably the one people think would have the best flow. Nas's flow is the flow that's sick on the Major Look remix because he had to find a different way to rap to that beat.
I think most of my favorite Luda moments, the flow is chiefly involved, right? Like it just is. Like even when you talk about like his verse on "What Mean the World." He was like, let me tell you what I mean the world. Ludacris and a couple of girls in front of brother running up on the girls and get a drunk chuck a lug in the girls. Ding-a-ling straight stuck in the girls. Get late, think 'em up with the girls. Skeet, gone. But lyrically, it's not like crazy. Right, it's about what he does flow-wise.
Well, it's also the rhythmic cadence that he's using and how he's putting his words together in like an assonance and a dissonance.
Yeah. I mean, even his Welcome to Atlanta verse, which I think is probably one of his best, if not his best verse.
That might be his best verse.
Yeah. And it's like the flow and the patterns and all of that.
Everything came together.
Yeah, because it's not really about what he's saying. He's very Busta Rhymes in that way. It's more so about how he's saying it. As opposed to... Yeah. Yeah, off the Red Man Tree. And it's like when his intensity in that way kind of went away, he couldn't rely on just pure lyricism. It's like, you know what I'm saying? When his flow wasn't as tight, it was like there was really no more redeeming value. And I say that respectfully, you know. Luda's great. One of my favorites. But I think that when I was younger, I probably thought more highly of him than I do now because a lot of things have been stripped down. And when he spit that a cappella, I was like, well, the bars are just okay. It's more so about his delivery and flow. But that speaks to how incredible of a rap voice and delivery he has. His delivery is strong.
Kiss still got the best punchline on there.
I think Kiss got the best verse.
Why put you in a verse when I could put you in a coroner van? It's like, I was like, because you know they shooting coming right after. I'm like, man, this nigga know how to write a verse and end the verse. Yeah,
somebody said, what about his verse, his flow on What's Your Fantasy? Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to get you in the Georgia Dome when the 50-gallon lines while the dirty birds kick up a tree. If you like it in the club, you can do it in the DJ booth or in the back of the VIP. Whipped creams, cherries and strawberries on top. Nigga, don't stop. Robot, while the robots, and they gotta wait until the it's his flow, man. That's what it is. Like that's what it is.
So
incredible flow. He probably has one of the best flows ever, to be honest.
No, I can give him that.
Yeah.
So this Ed Reed thing, Mike, at
well, HBCU strike again. Well, I know people are probably like, yo, why are you guys covering this? I think this brings in the
Because we're
question of
socially
hip hop
aware.
because they blame the hip hop music and the lyrics that were playing in the back of his IG live as to why they fired this man. So for people who don't know, I'm just gonna, kind of sum it up. Ed Reed was given an offer at Bethune-Cookman to coach their college football team. So the kids were really rallying around him. A lot of them went and, signed on to play for Bethune-Cookman because Ed Reed was there. It's kind of Deion Sanders all over again almost, right? And so the living conditions at Bethune-Cookman right now, there's mold all over the dorms, there's trash all over the campus. They have them living in, horrid conditions. They're saying it's because of the hurricane residue and stuff like that, whatever. So Ed Reed goes on Instagram Live with his team and has them cleaning up the campus, and he's cleaning it up with them. And while he's cleaning it up, he's talking shit like, man, this is unacceptable, this is terrible, yada yada. And so Powers that Be saw that, and I guess they rescinded their offer to hire him on as a coach. So basically he was kind of fired before being officially hired, but they wanted to say that he was the one that stepped down, and he's making it clear that he didn't do that. The kids are saying that no, they want Bethune-Cookman to go ahead and, I guess change their mind. And he said he still wants to coach these the kids, right? So the president or the interim president at Bethune-Cookman, he stated the reason was that, Bethune-Cookman is a Christian college or built on Christian values, and they had a problem with the music that was being played in the background while all of this was going on. But it seems that the problem is more so about the fact that he put the school on blast for the conditions that they're in. And now, students are out there actively protesting at the school. So it's a lot going
on. I have a few things I'd like to say.
Go ahead.
First of all, Mike, you already know I'm about to go with this. He has a lot of nerve. First of all, his name is Dr. Lawrence Drake. He's the interim president and dean of the College of Business and Entrepreneurship.
Got him on
if any of you want to contact Mr. Drake and let him know how you're feeling, his phone number is 386-481-2800. Email is drakell@cookman.edu. Now, when you bring up this being a Christian school and you're speaking to some of the language that is being used, well, this is what I'm talking about, how people sit up there and go to church, but they never read a Bible, Mike. Most of our prophets, most of our disciples are misfits and misbehaviors who are corrected by Christianity and through Christianity values and people having moral integrity and competence to uplift them and not cast them off. So when he speaks to these Christian morals and values and how he wants to be upheld, like when the prophet Paul is speaking to his celibacy, he literally speaks of it in relationship to the other disciples to let you know, Mike, that he's the only one that's not having sex. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know about Christianity apparently enough to speak on these matters, because you would know that God in Christianity usually takes the imperfect person and makes them into something. And so these imperfections are part of the process in Christianity. Maybe you're missing that. I actually want to go to a Catholic school that I have followed my whole life called Notre Dame, Mike. Notre Dame had a coach who is now the coach of LSU named Brian Kelly. Do you know the things that I've seen Brian Kelly do on the sidelines of this Catholic, thereby also like under the Christian demagogue school? Like he has cursed at players, berated players, physically accosted players, and got to keep his job. Do not use Christianity as a guise and as a veil to oust this man because he called you out on your bullshit that we're seeing take place way too often at HBCUs at this point as far as substandard living conditions for who, Mike? Black people. And it's the most deplorable thing. Why would you do this to your own people? And I'm not done yet, Mike. I have something I want to say, and this is very serious and it's close to home. I chose UNCG over North Carolina A&T about the living conditions, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. I'm from the hood. I was already living in substandard housing, living tenements in buildings. My idea of actually able academically to rise myself up out of my circumstances and go to college did not involve me environmentally putting myself in the same environment somewhat physically. Now, a lot of the people who I went to high school in West Charlotte, they lived in the suburbs. So maybe that experience for them was humbling and rooting when they went to North Carolina A&T. Mike, for me, I couldn't do it because it was just like, I just left West Boulevard and Beatty's Ford. Why would I go to the West Boulevard and Beatty's Ford in Greensboro?
And pay for it.
And pay for it.
And go in debt for it.
UNCG had great new dorms and fabulous facilities. And quite frankly, the living conditions in those dorms were better than the current living conditions that I was living under in Charlotte. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. No one should be living in mold. Bottom line.
And listen to what I'm saying. In North Carolina A&T wasn't bad, Mike. I was just tired of living in the hood environmentally. It's like, y'all just told me to bust my ass and get the fuck out of here for me to go. I was like, nah, I'm going to go up the street and just go kick it in the hood when I feel like it. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that was my thought about it. And I'm going to take some of this living conditions and new learning experiences with me. But it's a problem that they're doing all of this. And this is going on around HBCUs. Like, I sound so corny. Our children really are our future. What the fuck are you doing?
They don't care.
They don't care. They're worse. You're one to understand. When you treat your own this way, you're worse than any sort of white man or oppressor could ever be.
Well, what the president said, the interim president, he said, I think his name's Dr. Drake. He was saying that Disney is a big contributor, I guess, to some of their bowl games or something like that. And he said he got a call from Disney and they had some concerns about, I guess, the image after the video that Ed Reed posted. And like again, they used the music to cite that. So this is my thing.
Y'all running slumlord housing project tenements on college campuses.
Hip hop music is played throughout college campuses, at the games, at the pep rallies, on the yard where the fraternities and sororities are stepping, and the language is never perfect. So at what point are we talking about the music is an issue? I mean, because the students were even like, we play this music all the time. And Ed Reed said himself, he was like, I was playing the music for the kids, man. I really listen to damn Earth, Wind, and Fire. You think I was listening to this shit?
Ed Reed's older than us, Mike.
Right.
He probably really does listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire. We listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah, he's like, that's not even my jam. I was playing this to relate to the kids.
He really grew up on LL and KRS-One.
Right. Michael Williams of the Super Chat says, who's the better lyricist, Conway or Pusha? I personally side with Pusha, but if somebody said Conway because he's able to do more lyrically and cover more lyrically, I wouldn't be mad at that.
It's very much a if it was just like a duel of the Iron Mike, so to speak, I would take Push too. But Conway has proven himself to be versatile enough with the pen and lyrically precise enough, like Pusha is, that it's conversational.
Yeah, I mean, because the cow, man. I mean, does Pusha have anything like that?
No, I told you the cow is a shook one's like when I say anything about any modern MC and I go to one of Prodigy's best verses to evoke how good that verse is, as in like, no, the verse on the cow is very shook one's part too, like.
Mm-hmm. It's incredible. Andrew Green with the $20 super chat. Appreciate the love. He said, I give credit to Nas for spitting a whole new verse on the remix.
Yeah.
In those days,
he found a whole new flow.
He said, in those days, sometimes if the beat was the same, the artist would just use the OG version and then just add a feature. And Coop, you're right. Nas's flow on there is about Nas's new flow on there.
Yeah, no, that's one of his best flows that he ever pulled out on a song.
Yeah.
Like when he pulled that flow out, we didn't even know he had that flow.
Right. Dame252 with the super chat says, can y'all please tell Jay-Z fans, and I'm a fan that of all entendres aren't hot. those fans get hung up on that. Yeah, I mean,
sometimes an entendre is just that. Method Man does it all the time, and we say nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say sometimes entendres miss, right? We see that with Wayne, Method Man. We see that with Jay. You know what I mean? Like, what are some of his weaker entendres to you?
You know what? I actually got into a little Twitter battle, and I was dropping some of them off the top of my head.
Oh, that's where this is coming from.
Probably so. But even like just some of the stuff, it's like, you know, I was pointing out the fam, it's like Jay's not perfect. I was like, remember Sunshine? Half Philippine thing for now, let's call her Suki.
Yeah. I mean, you know, everybody got weak bars. It happens.
Yeah.
But again,
it's firm like Nature, Foxy, Nas, and AZ. It's like, okay, all right, okay.
You know, sometimes you just dial it in. I was hearing something. I was hearing something, man. I forgot what it was, but it was somebody great that was just dialing it in. I was like, you know, it's a lot of rapping that you got to do. But again, not to beat a dead horse, but that goes back to the 3000 conversation when people say he doesn't have a weak verse. Well, if you have very limited opportunities of, you know, putting verses out there, you have a greater chance of never having a weak bar.
You know what? And I'm glad that you brought it around to Andre, and maybe we can kind of wrap up with this motion and this sentiment. Yeah. So I'm in the car with my daughter earlier today. I had to take her to a dentist appointment. And the art of storytelling came on.
I said I did that last week. My bad. Yeah. Carry on.
No, you're good. The art of storytelling part 1 came on. And, you know, we're playing it now. You know, Sade will be 16 next month, Mike. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's grown. Like, she ain't no, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's grown, but I'm playing this music in front of my kid, obviously.
Right.
So I'm thinking to myself as the song is going off, and it really occurred to me. I was like, Andre stuff is the type of stuff that you're comfortable with your mother and your daughter listening to.
Yeah.
Concept and theme-wise, and that's why he's so heralded. It's more palatable and accessible. There was a part of me as a father that when Big Boy was spitting his verse and we're in the car, I'm like, well, I hope she's not really listening all the way and she's halfway into her TikTok and Snapchat like she need to be.
But they're always listening.
But when Dre's verse comes on, I'm like, but she can totally listen to this whole verse if she feels like it.
You know, it's funny you say that because
matters.
I remember when the song was out and it was on the radio back in the day. I had to be maybe about 16 or so myself. I'm riding around with my mom, and yeah, when Dre's verse is on, I'm cutting it up like, yeah, she can hear this because this is proving the brilliance that I'm talking about.
So listen to what I'm saying. Sometimes in hip hop, I realize that pimp player aesthetic and that talk actually hurts your all-time greatness. It's hurt Too Short. It's hurt Big Boy. It hurts you to talk that way, actually, because I was looking at it through the eyes of the father wearing the black dad gang jumpsuit that I'm wearing, and I'm like, nah, I'm kind of cool if she misses Big Boy's whole verse, and not like the verse ain't dope, but it's like, do I want to be getting in the car with my mother, having my mother get in my car after church and have that come on randomly like it just did? Probably not. Do I want that to be the ride home from the dinner? Probably not. And so some of the flack that we give Andre, we do need to highlight some of the greatness. There's a palatability and a brilliance to him taking the everyday normal situations and making it still brilliant lyrically. Now, Susie Screw had a partner named Sasha Thumper, you know?
Yeah, beginning, middle, and end, you know? I remember her number like the summer. You know, even the skit that leads up to that song is brilliant, man.
Cut you up.
These are the reasons why I say that the album's better than Life After Death to me. You know what I mean? Like, as a collective, like, if we're talking about fitting in these concept records with these skits and these sketches and still having radio playable stuff at the same level as your album stuff, the lyricism's there, the musicality's there. I think what Big and them did was incredible on Life After Death, but as an overall piece of work, I would take Okumina personally. Now, if somebody took Life After Death, I wouldn't be mad, but you know.
So here's So here's how I think our versus battles need to go with albums now. We need to find all the great albums that have the same number of songs and put them up against each other.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm not mistaken, Illmatic and Paid in Full are 9 songs apiece.
But Paid in Full has those records where he's not rhyming on them, though.
So we can't use that. So we might have to go to Let the Rhythm Hit Him. And I feel sorry for Let the Rhythm Hit Him if that's the case. But you get what I'm saying? It's like, no, we need to match up. Like, you need to find the album that song-wise matches up with Aquemini because Life After Death doesn't. What album song-wise that's in that top 2025 matches up? Because it might be a Tribe album, Mike.
It might be. But you know what? This is what I'll do, man. Even with the handicap, I'll still take Paid in Full because it's bangers.
I wouldn't
bangers.
Do that if I was you.
I want to do it. I want to do it.
This is what I'm saying, Mike. Like when you say that, it's like, I love I Ain't No Joke, but is that better than New York State of Mind to you?
I think it's conversational.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I Ain't No Joke's a classic.
You know how I feel about I Ain't No Joke. It might be my favorite song on the album, but objectively speaking, it's like, I don't know.
But, I mean, New York State of Mind might be the best song on the album, too, you know?
But also, too, it's like, and here's what I mean about Let the Rhythm Hit Him is like, well, when people say Nas is inspired by Rakim, it's Let the Rhythm Hit Him Rakim that he's inspired by. He don't sound like Paid in Full or Follow the Leader Rakim.
Nah, he doesn't.
He's inspired by Let the Rhythm Hit Him Rakim. That's where the Mahogany sample from New York State of Mind comes from, too.
Because then I'm going to have to go to My Melody, and then I know you got Soul.
But My Melody falls in line with One Love. That's what I'm telling you. That's track 7 and track 7.
No, My Melody's number 3.
Against Life's a Bitch?
Mm-hmm. That's My Melody.
I mean, we can do it if you want. I want to do the KRS-One thing first, and then we can start parsing.
Yeah.
Because when I'm starting at the top, I'm thinking, well, Paid in Full and Illmatic are both top 5 hip-hop albums, and it's like, well, let's start there.
It'll be an interesting conversation. Michael Williams with the super chat says, in your opinion, how far off is LeBron from being the GOAT? His longevity is unprecedented, just like Nas. I mean, I think that the history books will be very kind to LeBron, and he should be, number one. Now, I know the best player I ever saw was Michael Jordan, but, it's going to be tough to argue somebody who's number one in points, top 10 in assists, and rebounds. Like,
here's what I told you. Game-wise, Kevin Durant's on the same trajectory as LeBron. Like, that's one thing.
With
so when assists? You're saying that, huh?
With the assists, too?
No, not with the assists. With the points, he's on mine. Like, he's literally 14th right now, and he's almost 5 years younger than LeBron. He's 14th on the all-time scoring list.
But what about rebounds and assists, though?
Oh, no. He's not going to touch LeBron in that. But here's what I'm saying. How about this? This is the biggest compliment I think I could pay LeBron. I've always told people it wasn't just that Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time. It was just that there was a gap between him and whoever was number 2. And I think that what LeBron has done specifically this year is show you it's like, well, no, the gap between 1 and 2 isn't big. It's still Mike at number 1, but it ain't no big gap, Mike. And if you think it's a big gap, you haven't been watching basketball.
When they put these lists together in 5-10 years after LeBron's done, and if he's number 1 over Jordan, I get it. I mean, I understand.
No, he's not going to be able to take the 6 for 6 away in his finals record. So I don't think it's going to go that way.
This is what I'll say about LeBron, right? He's played tougher competition in the finals than Jordan did. He did.
That's not Mike's fault though.
It's not.
Mike didn't tell Isaiah's ACL to get torn.
No, you're right.
To give Magic to get HIV.
And granted, I still think all of those teams that beat LeBron, I think that Jordan's Bulls would have beat them too. They would have beat the Spurs. They would have beat Golden State. They would have. So,
all jokes aside, like that Golden State team without Kevin Durant, they don't even win a game against the Bulls, Mike. Like the Bulls don't give them a game.
Beat them with Kevin Durant too.
How about this?
They do.
Not the second team, but the first team would be the only team that would give them some run. I think that Golden State team could take 2 or 3 games off the Bulls. Yeah, I do.
36 Chambers with the super chat.
Scotty can't guard Kevin Durant. Nobody can guard Kevin Durant.
Nobody can, but I think Scotty would give him enough burn to make it difficult.
He's getting 30 on him the same way he get 30 on LeBron and Kawhi, Mike. No, like 30.
No, it's KD, but I'm just saying he'll make him work. And all you got to do is make people work.
He will make him work.
Yeah.
He will make him work.
Because if he makes him work and Jordan does what he does, that offsets everything.
That offsets everything. You're right.
36 Chambers with the super chat says LL versus KRS is possibly possibly for verses. Yeah, we're doing that. That's happening.
Yeah, no. That's next. I want to do that next.
Mo Better with the super chat says, that's one of the reasons why I like Crit and Odyssey. They have songs that you can play around your family that's uplifting without curse words. Definitely.
No, it matters. I can play Rakim around my mom.
You know, speaking of Crit, them leaving him off the list too is interesting because Crit's the one guy in his era that they kind of leave out of the conversations because he dropped out of the major label thing early. Because when he was coming in the door, it was about Crit, Cole, Kendrick, and Drake. He was right there with these guys, ASAP too. And it feels like, he's kind of dropped out of the conversation since he kind of, left Def Jam. Mad Max with the super chat says, Bron ain't nowhere near the GOAT. He on that juice since 2009, allegedly.
Terrible. Let's wrap it up. It's time to go.
All right, let's get out of here. Mad Max says Hakeem was close to MJ. He never had the help. Hakeem had help. What you mean?
Not the likes of LeBron.
No. Nobody's got LeBron help. Mad Max also says, what tough comp, Mike? The Spurs that Kobe was killing the Mavs. Bro, went 6 with the Heat, led by Jimmy Butler, and Bam and Dragic cut the Bron talk. Okay. I was talking more so about the Kawhi Spurs. I was talking about the
Tim Duncan Spurs.
Well, yeah. Well, no, Kawhi was the MVP when they beat the Heat.
He shouldn't have been.
The 73 and what is it, 9 Golden State.
I think he had the lowest scoring average of any Finals MVP ever, either him or Iguodala. Think about this.
I'm sure it was Iguodala.
And Kawhi both got Finals MVPs, mostly because they kept LeBron from totally dominating them. He just dominated them some.
Yeah. Andrew Green with the super chat says, too many other superstars ate on LeBron's watch for him to be the GOAT. Once Jordan won his first, nobody else touched the chip until he retired. Hakeem. Great point.
These are facts too.
All right, well, we're going to holler at y'all Friday, man. Great show. We talked about a whole bunch, but yeah, great show. Appreciate y'all rocking with us. Hit like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you know when we're going live. Any other last words, Coop?
No, we need to get our likes and subscribes up. We've been actually stuck in our like and subscribe place for the longest point since we've been on YouTube.
Yeah, I feel like that's too.
Yeah, spread the word about according to
hip-hop. Are we getting suppressed or something?
We're still just getting started.
Yeah. I feel like we're getting suppressed or something. All right.
I was going to ask you what was going on behind the scenes. I was like, hey, Mike, the numbers really ain't been running up the past 2-3 weeks like we used to the numbers running up. But okay.
Let's get up to 12,000 and 20,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want 25. I want 25 this year. I want to double the subscription. I want 25K this year.
Let's get it.